Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work. There is no normal anymore. This is different.
In isolation. Always alone. At least we got Dan. He's my best friend.
No.
Won't say I'm his, but I probably am, unless it is Paul. But he doesn't count. He's just always around. Wearing his plaid, eating his meat. Walter Payton is an overrated clown.
Treat me like family. Treat me like family. Treat me like family.
I'm sorry I lashed out, Paul. Walter Payton is a great man.
Treat me like family. Treat me like family. Nothing but love.
I just miss all of you so very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Paul's not going to be angry, right? He low-key terrifies me, and I can't see his face anymore.
I'm not saying no.
Are you saying yes?
No, I'm not saying yes.
Here he is, broadcasting live from the Mercedes Man Cave, Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program, Hour 1 on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Charles Barkley will stop by in about 15 minutes. Guy Fieri. It's a trip to Flavortown, Triple D, diners, drive-ins, and dives. Will join us coming up a little bit later on. We'll check in with the Green Bay Packers as well. We got some drama. Again, off-season drama with the Green Bay Packers. Boys are here, ready to go. Boys in the back, thank you for showing up. And we're ready to go full speed ahead. You can watch, if you like, on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. Also, dial us up, 877-3DP-SHOW. And, of course, listen on the 362 radio affiliates around the country and the powerful Fox Sports radio lineup. Maybe it's because everybody's talking about the Bulls documentary, The Last Dance, that lately we've been, I guess, stumbling upon this reoccurring theme. It's not easy being the GOAT. You look at Michael Jordan, the GM, Jerry Krause, broke up Jordan's Bulls. Tom Brady left the Patriots for the Buccaneers. He wanted to have fun again. And now we're seeing signs of turmoil in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Now, not that Rodgers is the GOAT, but widely viewed as maybe the most talented quarterback we've seen. Not the greatest, but certainly one of the most talented of all time. People were shocked when the Packers took another quarterback, Jordan Love, and you took him in the first round and you traded up to get him, and you had other needs on this team. Now there's a couple of reports that head coach Matt LaFleur may have wanted to send Aaron Rodgers a message. It's hard to believe, but if we've learned anything in the offseason, even this month, the best players aren't untouchable. The Bulls did it to Michael Jordan, Brady and Belichick and the Patriots, Joe Montana with the 49ers. You can run down the list. There are teams that say, we're bigger than you. Not always the case. But we're certainly going to be watching the Packers sideline this season with the Rodgers-LaFleur dynamic. Now, keep this in mind. Last year, in the offseason, what did we talk about? In August, we talked about Rodgers and LaFleur were here and there's some unrest. They're not clicking there. Then they go 13-3. I'm guessing the relationship was pretty good when they went 13-3. So you had the previous year, Rodgers from former teammate, he's not a leader. And then all of a sudden, when you go 13-3, I'm guessing he's a good leader. I don't know. Here we are again. Now we possibly have turmoil. They want to send. Okay. Who is Matt LaFleur to send a freaking message to Aaron Rodgers? Maybe Rodgers thinks he's bigger than what he is. And I'm guessing, yeah, he probably does. But Matt LaFleur, if this is true, he wants to send a message to Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, I thought it was called the Lombardi Trophy, not the LaFleur Trophy. What are we doing here? Going to send him a message by drafting a quarterback. Okay, if you want to send him a message, why didn't you send a message and not give him $100 million? You gave him a contract. Did it just sneak up on you in Green Bay? This is who Aaron is. He hasn't changed. This is his personality. He's not the easiest guy to be around. Now, I like him. I understand his personality, but I've been around him, played golf with him. I get it. And I'm not, a sycophant where I'm going to stick up for Aaron Rodgers. At some point, Aaron Rodgers is probably going to say something about this. But I don't know what it's like inside that locker room. I do know that there have been players who have come forward to say Aaron is different or it's all about Aaron. Yeah, he's not a great leader. I get all of those things. But Matt LaFleur is not the guy sending him. And even the GM, what has he done that says, hey, we're going to send a message to him? Then don't bring him back in the first place. And are you going to try to be like the 49ers? So you use a draft pick on a quarterback in the first round. You draft a running back. You draft a fullback. Last I looked, the Niners are still running on that defense. If you're going to do something, maybe you bulk up the defense. Okay, we're not going to get him any wide receivers. We're going to build our team in the form of the 49ers. So at least that's the feeling I get. Like, what? So you're going to try to be like the Niners? You're not going to be the Niners. Like, the Niners are this way because they don't have Aaron Rodgers. They got Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why you have a running game. When you don't, the Colts had a good running game. Why? They didn't trust Jacoby Brissett. It's maybe this is nothing. Maybe this is nothing. But, Tom Silverstein, the Packers news reporter, he talked about this. Brian Gutekunst, the GM, tipped LaFleur's hand on what this season would look like by drafting a running back, A.J. Dillon, who I do like, an H-back. They also drafted an offensive lineman, a couple of offensive linemen. The running game is going to be a big part of the offense, like it is with the Niners or the Rams. And last I looked, Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Bob McGinn, who's been around the Packers for decades, and he writes for The Athletic. According to Bob McGinn of The Athletic, the Packers head coach, Matt LaFleur, has grown tired of Rodgers' act and passive-aggressive style. How long has he been there? Public niceties aside, my sense is LaFleur, fresh from a terrific 13-3 baptismal season, simply had enough of Rodgers' act and wanted to change the narrative. I don't care how big of an ass my star player is. If I go 13-3 and I'm in the NFC title game, with first-round talent on the rosters, the Packers would gain leverage with their imperial quarterback and his passive-aggressive style, the report wrote. If the Packers do indeed want to become a running team next season, they surely wouldn't want Rodgers rocking the boat and becoming even more difficult to coach. Rodgers, at age 36, is coming off a season where he threw for 4,000 yards. He threw 26 touchdowns. He threw 4 interceptions. That's a bad year for Aaron Rodgers. That's one of his worst seasons ever. And maybe they look at this and go, now, I said this all season long. I don't know how good they are. And even at 13-3, I didn't think they were a 13-3 team. But they won. I think they took advantage of some situations there. And look, they did what they were supposed to do. They got to the NFC title game. They were no match for the San Francisco 49ers. But instead of saying, let's counter what the Niners do so well if you think you're going to match up with them, and let's bulk up our defense. How about our run defense? That would have been the approach I would have thought of. Jordan Love doesn't help you this year. So that's the message you're sending. You're going to make sure that Aaron doesn't rock the boat. You're going to draft Jordan Love, much to the detriment of the team the next 2 years. Aaron Rodgers, unless he gets injured, is your starting quarterback the next 2 years because you have invested so much money in him. But all of a sudden, people are surprised that Aaron Rodgers has this prickly personality, or it's about him. It is about him. Have you seen the offensive weapons you've given him? Aaron Rodgers is not the problem. Look for the problems and solve the problems. Now, if you're saying we need to get control back from Aaron Rodgers, okay. Why did you sign him to the extension? You could have traded him and probably got a hold on. That would have been a more sound business move as you move. Jordan Love is not going to help you for a couple of years, at best. And maybe he doesn't help you at all. Is that So they were drafting a quarterback. My intel said the Packers were going to get a quarterback. Okay, you got a quarterback, but you're going to send a message there. In 2013, Tom Brady had an 87.3 rating, lowest since 2003. The Patriots drafted Jimmy Garoppolo to send a message. Over the next 4 seasons, Brady's quarterback rating, 103 and 2 Super Bowls. Nice message sent. And I thought at the time, okay, maybe what's happening is they want to say to Aaron, hey, we want you angry. We want you upset. We want you fired up to come in here. Okay. Like I just said, all right, if that's what your message is with him.
Could you say it to his face and draft a wide receiver?
Could you just bring him in and say, like, do I have to send you you're talking about him being passive aggressive.
Right.
Aren't the Packers passive aggressive with what they just did? If you don't talk to him, so that's the passive part. You don't talk to him. And then the aggressive part is we're going to draft a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, I think you're taking the wrong side here. I looked up the stats. Matt LaFleur, as a head coach, has a career winning percentage of 81%. That's the greatest in NFL history.
Yeah, he's 13-3.
Yeah, well, it's one season.
But I know, we painted him to be a genius because he worked with the Rams. Painted him to be a genius because he was with the Titans. Like, okay, that doesn't mean you have the collateral where you walk in and go, we got to send a message to this guy. Last I looked, every genius, all these geniuses, head coaches, had quarterbacks. Bill Walsh is a genius. When you got Joe Montana and Steve Young, boy, that helps being a genius. Andy Reid is a genius now. You know why? Because he's got Patrick Mahomes. If you're going to be a genius, chances are Phil Jackson's a genius. He got Michael and Scotty and Shaq and Kobe. He wasn't a genius when he got to the Knicks somehow.
Too soon.
Yeah. Strange how that happens. But, all right, there you go. That's how we start the show. And I know that I probably sound apologetic for Aaron Rodgers. He's a big boy. He can do what he needs to do. And, maybe he uses this to his advantage. But I just, you're sending a message. And look, I respect these reporters. Bob McGinn has been around for decades covering the Packers. I respect it. It feels like you got the same source there. You got the same source who's giving that information to these, writers who are, maybe it's one of those, hey, let's leak some stuff out here to let them know, we need Aaron to comply with what we want to do. So you got what I've been told. I've been beaten over the head with this for 10 years. Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback to ever play the game. I've been told that, reminded of that. You got one Super Bowl to show for it. You don't draft any weapons in the first round for him. You don't have offensive skill position. You're on record as not helping the greatest quarterback of all time. And the argument I get back is, well, if he's the greatest quarterback of all time, he should be able to do this on his own, and we can draft players and fill in other holes. It's nice you keep drafting cornerbacks, which, okay, that's great. The reason why you lost to the Niners, they ran down your throats. So Aaron Rodgers, put the blame on him all you want, but it feels like if you start to point fingers, you might have to point some fingers inward with what's going on with the Green Bay Packers. This Mother's Day, no matter what the distance is between you, there's still a way to make every mom feel loved. 1-800-Flowers. Right now, get 24 multicolored roses, $39.99 to order. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and enter the promo code Patrick. Maybe Aaron Rodgers can call 1-800-Flowers and send some flowers to Matt LaFleur just to see if he can patch things up here, passive-aggressively, of course. McLovin, you got a poll question for me.
Yes, and I do want to point out LaFleur, as I believe, translates to the flower in French.
Oh, well done, Andy. Yes, well done.
So, poll question, I wanted to ask, is Aaron Rodgers the Packers quarterback in 2 years? Is that the time frame? I'm not sure what the time frame is, or whatever the contract is with the NFL contracts you can usually get out of it. How would you word that poll question?
Run it by me again, because I think they're locked into Rodgers unless he gets hurt the next 2 years, just contractually and salary cap wise. The third year, it's a little more user friendly for the Packers. Can you believe we're talking about this? that all of a sudden the Packers are ready to move on from like, what's dumber? You sign him to this deal and you don't like his passive-aggressive style, or that you draft a quarterback in the first round to send a message to him. Like, it seems so counterproductive. Yeah, McLevin.
Have there been great quarterbacks, though, that you kind of have to force to rely on the running game? That's what I feel like maybe this is like. Rodgers doesn't want to. He audibles out of run plays. He doesn't want to do a running game, but they kind of have to force him.
Okay, but just help me understand this. This is by far, the greatest touchdown to interception ratio of any quarterback in the history of the sport. Not even close. I got a guy who does something extremely well. Wouldn't I want to continue to have him do something extremely well, like the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes?
Well, their problem is they have to slow the game down so the Niners don't get the ball back. They have to move slow.
How about they improve their defense?
The best way to improve the defense is a running game. You've said that before. That's a direct quote from Dan Patrick.
Well, it would help if you played defense too. Like, you can have a great running game. If you don't play in defense, it doesn't matter.
You can't have Mostert running for 30 yards a play.
No,
that's not good.
No. That is probably not going to be sustainable if you're going to try to beat the Niners. I don't even know if the Packers are better than, the Cowboys. There's a few teams. Are they better than the Buccaneers going into this? I have no idea. We make it seem like, or it appears that, hey, the Packers are gearing up to beat the Niners. Okay. Well, good luck with the other teams you might face. You got a friendly schedule. I think a third-place schedule. You went 13-3. I didn't think they were formidable, but they got through the playoffs. They met the Niners, and Niners were a better team. But I don't know if we look back on this next offseason and then bring this up, after the Packers go 10-6 and, go to the second round of the playoffs or something. Because Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, I don't know about this. Now, I get it. Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, that was an issue. But I think that got to the point where, we're tired of each other. And you know what? You don't make me better, and apparently I don't make you better, and I think we need to go, or you need to go. And Mike McCarthy going to Dallas was best for him and probably best for Aaron Rodgers. Yes, McLevin.
Did you sneak in a pro-Cowboys statement there and think that we weren't going to notice that?
I know.
Whoa.
I know. God,
I think you like their draft.
I'm falling. I did. I had this crush on the Cowboys. Did you notice on my desk here? I put the Cowboys, that helmet I got when I was on vacation that's made out of fish bones. I put that on my desk. I go, what am I doing? Like, when you put a picture out of a girlfriend or something, that's what I did. I'm falling in love with the Cowboys.
Who goes farther next season? Packers, Cowboys, Tampa. Your Tampa team. Saucy. Throw the Seahawks in there.
Because of Russell Wilson Jr. the third. Well, I have to throw the Niners. Unless the Niners, still, they did pretty well in the offseason. Yes, McLevin.
Remember when I was trying to tout the Rams? I don't know after the draft. Has anyone talked about them in weeks?
No, they haven't.
What did they do in the draft?
I don't know, but they got a genius as a head coach, and that's all you need.
How about the Eagles in that poll, too, by the way?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they're sending a message.
They're definitely sending
Maybe they're sending a message, Carson Wentz. All right, Charles Barkley is set to join us, and he just zoomed in. We'll talk to Charles Barkley coming up next. It's 18 after the hour, just getting started. Glad you're part of the program. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, like your email, your Instagram, but check something important as your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy. Quick and easy. And best of all, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores. That's the score used by 90% of top lenders, and they do that for free. Even if you're not a customer, checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard. Free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Hey, can you
sound good, big man?
I think we all see reality a different way. The five of us all have different versions of how this show got started, probably. I'm sure if we actually sat and told our stories, they'd all sound different.
No, I think we agree on how this show started, out of desperation, need.
For example, you tell the story that
hopelessness.
you never invited me up. I just showed up one day and never left. That's not exactly my version. I mean, it's 75% true.
Well, we were told that you were going to blog. You were coming up to blog. Now, I didn't invite you, right?
No, technically, no. There was never, no.
No,
Actually,
you had a microphone at Sports Illustrated.
I had a little, it's called a McCready box.
Yeah, you had a
McCurdy box.
McCurdy box. And I would call in and give poll results.
Yes, but you all of a sudden came up. So I didn't invite you. You were just going to come up and then blog. Paulie might have invited you on my behalf.
I think that's probably what happened.
And then you never left after that.
No, then I just started coming up, and then you forgot that I wasn't supposed to be there every day.
Yeah, Paul.
From what I remember is we invited Andrew up to check out the studio and kind of hang out one day, and then he just came back once a week, every week from then on, and then became twice a week, and then it went from there. It just kind of happened, I hate the word, organically.
No.
But the first time was like, hey, come check out the studio. And then Andrew said, hey, no one's telling me not to stop. I might as well just come up.
But we didn't have any room, so I had to put him in another room.
Yep, I was in the side room. But then when we started the TV show, you said come up every day, but you didn't give me a desk. Not for 3 years. I don't know if people even remember that. I had a platform that was set in 3 tires.
Yes.
Yeah. Why was that?
Budgetary reasons. Yeah, Fritzy.
I vividly remember that. And talk about a good sport, sitting on tires. You know, he's got this whole background. He went to Dartmouth and, legal background and everything, writing for SI, and he's sitting on tires for a period of years before he was able to graduate to this fancy desk.
I didn't get Fritzy week 1. You held out. Like you played hardball with negotiations.
Hard to get, yeah.
Yeah. Because I was trying to pry you away from the mothership.
Week 1, Todd was booking guests for this show while sitting at his desk at ESPN.
We had a strong first week.
That's a true story. We could say it now.
That we did have a great first week. I mean, the first show we had Phil Jackson and David Beckham on.
Yep.
And Fritzy's working for the mothership, so he's double dipping.
Hiding in my little cubicle there, eating my tuna sandwich and potato chips.
And then we were trying to get all of his information out of the computer at the mothership. And I said, Fritzy, you got to start downloading stuff or sending it to Paulie, because once you announce you're leaving, they're going to shut down your computer and they'll never let that go.
Yeah, I think they showed me the door later that same day. Maybe I stayed one extra day. But I don't know how to use computers, so I'm like handwriting all kinds of contacts and numbers that I've had over the years because I don't even remember how I stored it in the first place.
Yeah, Paulie.
Fritzy had it all in notebooks. He gave his notebooks to his wife, and his wife started transcribing onto emails high-end contacts of Todd's.
That's very true.
And she would email to me. I still have them on my inbox today. And I'm talking like 50 pages of emails.
Yeah, there was covert operations going on there. But I told you, once the mothership knows you're leaving, then they'll escort you out. They'll shut you down.
I thought I was sticking around for a couple extra weeks. Yeah, you know what? You can
I know. Fritzy thought he was going to get a hero's, goodbye.
Training the next person.
Yeah.
See ya.
All of a sudden, it's like, hey, I'm thinking of leaving, joining Dan Patrick Show. All right, thank you. Thank you for your service.
Security.
See ya. See ya. We'll get to your phone calls on the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, a couple of articles that came out yesterday. And apparently there's some tension there. Aaron's passive-aggressive nature. They want to send a message to Aaron Rodgers. They draft Jordan Love. More of that coming up. We'll check in with the Packers coming up in the second hour. Guy Fieri on loan from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Big Raiders fan, will join us coming up in the final hour of the program. Charles Barkley, Hall of Famer inside the NBA on TNT, joining us. And, whoa, what do you got in the background there? Is that your man cave?
This is my man cave, my gym, and my bar. So I got a bunch of stuff in my bar and my workout room from the Dream Team. This is actually, I got this, all is signed by the original Dream Team from '92. It's one of my most prized possessions.
Isaiah Thomas's autograph is not on that, right?
It is not. You know what? It probably should be, but it is not.
Okay. I asked Reggie Miller, can we get this out of the way? I asked Reggie Miller on Monday. I said, do you think Michael said to the commissioner, I'll do the Dream Team, but Isaiah doesn't get to play?
I don't have any idea about that, to be honest with you, Dan. But, you know, I've told Isaiah, who I really like a lot, that was never presented to me in a, like, hey, do you want Isaiah on the team? So I have heard the rumors. I don't know what's true and what's not true. So I just don't know the answer to your question, but that was never presented to me.
Was it true that Isaiah froze out Michael or tried to in the All-Star game?
I wasn't in that All-Star game.
I know, but I'm asking you.
Hey, I don't know the answer to
Uh-oh. We just
that
lost.
question. In my
Okay.
40 years in the NBA, Dan, it's crazy.
You think that's crazy that he would have tried to freeze out Michael in the All-Star game?
Yeah, I think it would be crazy. I don't think you could get because first of all, you got to get all the guys to agree to that. So I don't believe that at all.
Is that Shaq's shoe over your shoulder?
Mitch Richmond, this is the second Dream Team. This is the second Dream Team, the stuff I got on the wall. The stuff on the original Dream Team, other than this flag, I got hid because people might steal this. They won't steal this stuff. I got the original Dream Team stuff. Other than this flag, I got that stuff hid. I got a Magic Johnson practice jersey that I stole. I got a Michael Jordan practice jersey that I stole. But all that stuff is hid.
Did you sit down for the Jordan documentary?
I did.
And what were the topics that they broached with you?
I actually don't remember, Dan. It was done like pretty much a year ago, so I really don't remember what we talked about.
Did you have any beef with Michael?
Never. Me and Michael always been cool. He was always like a brother to me, and he treated me great. Obviously, that's changed now, but the documentary has been. I don't think there's anything shocking in there, to be honest with you.
Well, I think that we looked at Jerry Krause was the villain, and then
No, he wasn't.
No. He was portrayed as the villain because, at the end, because he took it apart.
He didn't take that apart. Anybody think that's a fool? That thing was all orchestrated by Jerry Reinsdorf. The notion that little man broke up the Bulls is asinine and absurd. Hey, listen, John, if you go back and look at and use common sense, just use plain common sense. Jerry Reinsdorf broke up the Bulls because he didn't want to pay anybody. You think about this. He let Horace Grant go because he became a free agent, didn't want to pay him. They probably won't talk about that in the documentary. That's why he left and went to Orlando. He only paid Michael the last 2 years.
Yeah.
When he had Michael at a bargain, he was happy. So he didn't want to pay Michael. He paid him those last 2 years. And he had Scotty under a great deal. That's the reason he broke up the Bulls, strictly because of money. But to try to make Jerry Krause to be the bad guy, I thought that was very disingenuous by Jerry Reinsdorf.
I agree. After I watched that documentary, those first 2 episodes, I came in on Monday and I said, why is it that Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, has no blood on his hands in this?
Well, because that's the way he is. He's the silent assassin. He's my man from that movie, The Professional. He come in and kill you, and you don't even know you're dead till it's over.
And Jerry Krause isn't around to defend himself. That was what, he helped build that team, and then it felt like he was Yoko Ono blaming him for the breakup of the Beatles.
It doesn't even matter if he was around. Number one, rest in peace. But the notion that Jerry Krause broke up the Bulls, Dan, come on, man. If Jerry Reinsdorf wanted the Bulls to stay together, they would have stayed together. I mean, for somebody to think Jerry Krause all of a sudden became a hand and broke up the Bulls. I think that is just stupid. Dan, did you not pay your bill?
I think it's your bill.
Dan, I haven't spent money on anything in like 2 months. I got plenty of it.
What are you doing at home? Like, how do you pass the time?
Well, the good thing, I'm back in Arizona, so I started a regiment where I work out twice a day.
Nice.
I play golf 3 days a week. I can only drink on Friday and Saturday. So I've been trying to do, that's all I could do. You know, I love to drink, but I know I could not drink every day. So I quit drinking except on Friday and Saturday. I got a big golf match today with a bunch of the Coyote hockey players. We play about 3 days a week. We got like a Ryder Cup format. So today's a big day in the Barkley golf world.
Talking to Charles Barkley, the Hall of Famer, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. The Isaiah Thomas looks like an apology tour here about not shaking hands with the Bulls. My reaction with that, Chuck, was own it. You're the Bulls. You were the bad boys. Who cares if you didn't shake Mike's hand? Like, I just didn't. I like Lane Beer's approach. He's like, yeah, we didn't. They were whiners. We didn't want to shake their hands.
First of all, they were wrong. They should have shook their hands. So they should have did that. You know, the thing that was amazing, if you go back when I saw that, even after they had beat the hell out of Michael, he shook their hands.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not sure if a guy had beat me to a pulp 3 years in a row, I'd shake their hands, but Michael went up to them and shook their hands and said, congratulations. Listen, the Pistons were wrong. I think we've all did things in our life that we would like to go back. The Pistons were wrong. And first of all, they let this thing get out of hand. If they just had said, and I love Isaiah. I love working with him. I like him a lot. He probably gets the least amount of respect out of all the great players in NBA history. But all they had to do to put out this brush fire is, hey, we were wrong. We should have shook their hands. You can't let this thing simmer and let the media and let all these idiots on some net, not you, Dan. You know who I'm talking about. You can't let these idiots on other networks. When I say idiots, you know I mean Skip Bayless. You can't let idiots and fools like that just throw gasoline on the fire. Isaiah, who I love, should have just said, hey, we were wrong, and this thing would have been over.
Yeah, my point was you're known as the bad boys. Okay, you didn't shake Mike's hand. So what? Mike was the...
Yeah, but Mike shook their hand.
I know.
Dan.
Mike was the bigger man with that, Chuck.
Yeah, but you know what, Dan? You can't just shake people's hands when you win. That was the bad thing about it.
I know they're wrong, Chuck. I know they're wrong. But you're the bad boys. The way you played was wrong. They beat up... Yes, it was. It was. They beat up... Look at the video of what they did to Jordan. That wasn't real basketball.
That was the rules, though.
It was a shame that David Stern allowed the Knicks and the Pistons to play that kind of basketball.
The Miami Heat did.
Yeah, Miami Heat did too. Okay. You're right. Yeah, it was bad basketball.
You know what? They had a heck of a team. They had a bunch of good players. I mean, obviously, Joe Dumars and Isaiah are great players.
Yep.
And Dennis was a hell of a player. But they still had Vinnie Johnson. Lambeer was a good little player. Sally was a good player. James Edwards. I mean, they had a good team.
They had a great team. They had an underrated team. I said that we just didn't like that style, but that team was a great team. You had a Hall of Fame coach. You had Hall of Famers with Rodman was unbelievable back then. That version of Dennis was incredible.
Yes, agreed.
You didn't have any run. Well, you had run in with Lane Beer. You were going to fight him, or didn't you throw punches?
If you mean punched him in the head, yes, I did. Yes. You know what's really funny about that? You know what's really funny about that Piston team? Only two guys on that team could fight: Isaiah and Joe Dumars. Like Rodman couldn't fight, Sally couldn't fight, Mahorn couldn't fight, Lambeer couldn't fight. I mean, now Vinnie Johnson and James Edwards, they'd fight. But the main four guys I just mentioned, none of them could fight a lick.
But Lane Beer was always starting. He was an instigator there.
Go back and look at all the highlights. He was always getting punched in the head. That does not mean that just means you got punched in the head. Seriously, Dan, go back and look at all the highlights.
No, Charles, he started the fight. He didn't end the fight.
That's exactly right. Just because you get punched in the face does not mean you started a fight. That means you just got punched in the face.
Oh, he's slim and he's sexy. Joining us from his man cave, Charles Barkley. You'd look good. I'm happy for you. Yeah, I'm glad.
Dad, I am not going to complain because, man, I just want to shout out to all the first responders out there, all the nurses, and all the doctors who are, normally unless you're a cop or a fireman, you don't have to risk your life every day. But I just feel sad on so many fronts. I mean, like I say, the first responders, but all these people who are in the restaurant business who are going to lose their job, who have lost their jobs, and are going to lose their jobs because even when this pandemic is over, a lot of these restaurants are, number one, people are not going to have money to go there and eat, but also people are going to be afraid to congregate. So this thing is going to be catastrophic for a lot of people in the restaurant industry. So my thoughts are with them. So I'm not going to complain at all. I mean, yes, I'm bored. I'm not even worried about the NBA coming back. I'm not worried about the NHL coming back. I'm not worried about football. I'm just worried about the big picture because, man, the most important thing, how are we going to do this and keep anybody safe? Man, I don't know how you can do it and keep people safe.
Yeah, I just don't see fans coming back, being able to come back until.
Dan,
right?
Dan, that's gone out the window. That's not even, we shouldn't even be discussing that. There's no fans coming to sporting events if we start playing again. That's got zero chance of happening. My concern is how are we going to get, I mean, obviously the three most important sports right now, because football got some time. Hockey, which I love the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA playoffs, and Major League Baseball. How are we going to keep the players safe? I mean, and people who gonna be around.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something. I was talking to my lawyer. He says, if you guys get one of these people sick and they die, or one of these players die, legally, we're gonna be up a creek.
Yep. I'll leave you with this. The report came out that Michael Jordan decided to do this documentary. He had all this footage. And they said that they won't release it. NBA Entertainment will not release it until Michael says that they can release it. He said no for decades. Then on the day LeBron wins the championship, he's in Cleveland, and Michael says, tells the producer, okay, let's do this. Do you think that's just a coincidence? Or maybe it's Mike's way of saying, let me remind some people and inform a new generation of just how damn good I was?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question, but there's a couple things about this documentary. Number one, when just looking at Michael talking to Roy Williams, talking about, nobody's gonna work harder than me, and nobody ever has. And then when he wanted to come back and play with a broken foot, and Jerry says, no, you're going to risk your career. And he just wanted to play. And I wish the number one thing that these young players today get out of this documentary, you can have all the followers you want. You can make all the money you want. The most important thing is being the best player. That's what I hope these young guys get out of this. But let me finish up with this. What he went through against the Bulls, that's what to me makes him the greatest player ever. No disrespect to Kobe, because Kobe's the closest I've seen to Michael. No disrespect to LeBron, who's an amazing man, number one, an amazing player. But to get beat down like that and keep coming back, that reminded me like why I think this dude is the greatest basketball player ever. I mean, because the way they play the NBA today, Dan, and I'm not the old get off my lawn guy, and you said it earlier, what they did to that dude 3 years in a row, for him to keep coming back, well, that's what make him the GOAT.
Okay, back to my question. Do you think this was a calculated move on the day LeBron wins the championship, he decides to do it, allow them to do a documentary on the last year of the Bulls?
How the hell am I going to know that,
I just
Dan?
ask you. I know you don't know everything, but you know Michael is the most competitive guy you've ever been around. And to me, it was Michael saying, yeah, LeBron's won another title here. Maybe, let me just put this out there and just let people, just remind them of how great I was.
Well, let me tell you something. If that was his goal, we are reminded.
I know.
Hey, let me tell you something, Dan. As a person who lived the Jordan era, listen, man. Like I say, I'm not trying to be the old guy. You watching these highlights bring back some serious memories. How great this guy was. I mean, it's incredible to relive it. It's incredible to relive it. I mean, I know it's old and happened a long time ago.
You know what Reggie Miller said to me, Chuck? He
What's
said, I said, what would happen if you ran into Jordan? And he goes, I might want to punch him. I might hug him or punch him. Reggie still he really had a hard time. Like, it was sports trauma. After watching those first two episodes, he was like still mad at Jordan. Like for their relationship, their rivalry.
Well, I saw some guys who tried to make a big deal out of Michael playing golf with Danny Ainge one day.
Yeah.
And see, these young guys don't get it. We're not mad about them playing golf together. We're mad about them all teaming up together. That ain't the same. That ain't the same. Yeah, we've all played golf at different times. But we ain't never said, hey, man, let's get together and dominate the league. That's what the different aspect of being friends with guys is. We ain't never all got together and said, let's dominate the league.
That's good. I'm glad you're healthy and, good luck in quarantine.
I miss you, man. You guys be safe.
Yep.
Keep your distance and bless all y'all, man.
One of these days, we're doing the show from the Barkley Estates.
Hey, I changed the name. I make it a compound now because I got a basketball and tennis. Yeah, I got a basketball and tennis court now in the backyard, Dan.
You don't use either one of those.
Well, I got a putting green too.
And you don't use that either.
Oh, I practice my putting every day now, Dan.
Good.
Hey,
Good.
You're welcome at the compound anytime, brother.
I like that. And do you have bunk beds? So when I bring out the Danettes that...
Dan, I got a guest house on my property, brother.
I like it.
I got a guest house.
Thank you, bud.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And that's Charles Barkley. We'll take a break. Play of the day. Your phone calls coming up next.
See you, buddy. You too.
So, Dan, as always, I'm watching a little GMA before the show starts. I'm not just a sports guy. I'm eclectic, as they say. And the hosts are talking to a reporter named Will Reid. And Will's at his home studio, like many of us are. Anyone in the media, a lot of people are at the home studios. And he's sitting there in his chair, and he's got a nice sport coat on and a shirt, and he looks very dapper. He's well coiffed.
Yeah.
And then they take away the lower third. That's a graphic. And they kind of show...
Almost very graphic.
Yeah, and they show his lower third, if you know what I mean. Now, Will was wearing boxer shorts and a jacket and shirt. Kind of like you guys did back in the early SportsCenter days when you weren't being shot from below the waist.
Now, he said he was wearing shorts.
It appears to be either a boxer short or short thing. Now, the blame is not on Will Reid. It's the person who's framing up the shot. But if you're Will Reid, can you turn this around and then make that your thing?
Well, let's put it this way. His dad used to be Superman, the late Christopher Reeve.
Right.
I think he's doing okay.
Yeah.
He looks great. He's on GMA, and now all of a sudden, you gave the audience, probably a predominantly female audience,
Bonus coverage?
a little bit more of your. It was great Morning America for some women, I'm guessing.
He's the man of steel, Junior.
Yes, he is.
What if he says, this is my thing now, and I'm not going to wear pants anymore during live shots and get a nice sponsor deal out of it?
I think Fritzy's cornered that market, hasn't he?
Oh, toddler.
Yeah. Don't stand up either.
Got to hit your button there, Todd.
I don't even know if Todd can hear. Todd, can you hear us?
Yeah. There it is.
And never mind.
We'll clean it up in post.
Yeah. You grew up in Chicago.
Yeah.
So Bulls fan?
All day.
White Sox?
Huge Bulls fan. Cubs fan.
Cubs fan?
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'm from the west side of Chicago. So
Okay.
we, the west siders, we go with the north side. So, yeah.
Okay.
Huge Cubs fan. Like, I wanted the Andre Dawson curl if I could have got one.
the Jerry curl?
I wanted that Jerry curl. I had the poster where it was him, Michael, and Walter Payton in tuxedos. Yeah.
Well, how old were you when Jordan was dominating?
I watched it was a time where like my parents used to make us, we had to, had to go to bed at a certain time. We had this little black and white TV we had under the bed, me and my brothers, and they would think we would sleep. And they would make us go to bed during a good playoff game. You know what I mean? Like, yo, it's time to go to bed. Like, what? And they'll be watching you and my mom talking crazy to the TV. But we had a little black and white TV, so we used to act like we didn't know. And then I used to listen to the Bulls radio too. Like they'll let us listen to the radio instead of watching, which I don't know to do. How you gonna let us listen to the radio? It's the same thing. I'm still up. You know what I mean?
Did you ever meet Jordan?
I met him once.
Uh-oh.
And no, it was dope. It's like I was at a sports bar and Charles Oakley, who, his boy brought him with him. And it was a bunch of fine women in this place, right? But when Mike walked in, every dude just started staring at Michael Jordan for the rest of the night. It was the weirdest thing to see a bunch of grown men just staring at him.
If I said you could have Michael Jordan's career or Eddie Murphy's career?
Ooh. Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. I mean, Mike is great, but Eddie's like, I look at my kids, right? They're little, but like they know him from Shrek. Like he's just been great at so many different times. He was the first comedic rock star.
Yeah, but they can look down and see their shoes and see Michael Jordan.
Hey, man, look, Eddie Murphy is like, Eddie, it wasn't about height. It was all talent. Mike is still 6'6". Like, he still had a growth spurt. Like, I wonder what Mike would have been if he was still like 5'11".
Do you think he would have played in the NBA?
I don't know. It depends on how
I don't think he would have.
I don't think so neither. That growth spurt, I mean, it's funny hearing those stories about the growth spurt guy. Like, Scottie Pippen had one, too.
Yeah. You just never had it.
Nah, look at me. This is
I
what
know.
it is.
I know. Sad. You got nothing. You got nothing going on in your
I
life.
just buy Air Jordans. This guy doesn't even play no more.
How many pairs of Air Jordans do you have?
I have a lot of pairs. I have a lot.
Oh my God.
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day.
Check this out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stand up.
A new record. Clemens has set a major league record for strikeouts in a game. 20.
Courtesy of Major League Baseball in this day 34 years ago, Roger Clemens set the record, most strikeouts in a game. Struck out 20 against the Mariners. Since then, it's been done 3 other times, again by Clemens, Kerry Wood, and Max Scherzer. Play of the day brought to you by the great folks at 1-800-Flowers. This Mother's Day, no matter what the distance is between you and Mom, there's still a way to make Mom feel loved. 1-800-Flowers. Right now, get 24 multicolored roses, $39.99 to order. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Click on the icon there. Enter the code Patrick. You are good to go. A couple of phone calls. Royal in Iowa leads us off. Hi, Royal.
Hello. Great to talk to you. Enjoyed the interview with Charles Barkley. And yesterday here in Sioux City, Iowa, a local retired journalist brought up a story about Wilt Chamberlain from his mentor they used to write down in Kansas City. And kind of knew the Wilt Chamberlain story and everything. And Wilt Chamberlain was asked who was the greatest of all time. And, of course, like any great athlete, Wilt said he was. And he went on to compare himself to Michael Jordan. This was not long before Wilt had passed on. I believe it was in the late 90s. Anyway, Wilt said he could out vertical jumping. I think Wilt said he did 50 inches, which I didn't know that.
That's not true.
And Wilt was an All-American high jumper, you know.
I know he played volleyball. No, I know his whole story here, Royal. But no, Wilt not 50 inches at 7'1". No, the greatest leapers of all time. Nobody's got 50-inch vertical leap. You know, but yeah, Wilt was great in his era. He was great, absolutely. But today, that style, you know, he would not be anywhere near what he once was. In his generation, he was great. Absolutely. And you could say, was he the GOAT before Michael? No, because Bill Russell, because he had a better team, he won more championships. Wilt did everything except for win. And that was always held against him. All these stats, it didn't matter. How did you do against Russell and the Celtics? You didn't do well at all. Charles is always fun. And, you know, the point he brings up about Jerry Krause, the GM, who was, you give him credit as the architect of building the Bulls. And then all of a sudden, we put the blame on him because he's Yoko Ono breaking up the Beatles. And that's not, the owner is going to make these decisions. The owner is the one who is going to be writing those checks. How is it that Jerry Reinsdorf, I don't know if he's interviewed and asked about this, but if you're going to do a documentary and you're going to have Jerry Krause and Jerry's going to take the slings and arrows and he's not even around to defend himself, I have to ask the director, the producer, you got to ask Jerry Reinsdorf, Jerry, you're the one that broke up the team, not Jerry Krause. Are you trying to tell me that Jerry Krause goes, hey, I don't care what you say, Mr. Reinsdorf, I'm breaking up the Chicago Bulls? Because you were going to have to pay Scottie Pippen some big money. Mike made $30 million. Everybody else was sort of in that $3, $4, $5 million range. Yeah, Paulie.
If you remember, Michael Jordan, like you said, made about $3 million a year most of his career, but his last 2 years with the Bulls, he made $33 million a year based off the Larry Bird salary cap rule. They didn't get charged the full $33 million on their salary cap. It still came out of their pockets, though. It looked like they were getting a deal because they had the the Larry Bird rule on Jordan, and it didn't hurt their cap, but they still had to pay him $33 million a year.
It doesn't make any sense that Krause gets he got some credit for building this, but he got all the blame for dismantling this. I just can't imagine that Jerry Krause is going to go, hey, to the owner, hey, let's just break this apart now. The owner is the one who looks at this as from the financial aspect of this. You've already got your titles here. Do you want to do it again, or do you want to somehow recoup or make more money here? You know, it's a monetary decision here. But Charles is right. And I said at the time, that Monday after the first two episodes, there's no blood on Jerry Reinsdorf's hands, and there should be. Second hour coming up, we'll check in with the Green Bay Packers with that drama. And Guy Fieri from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dimes will join us in the final hour. More of your phone calls coming up. Dan Patrick Show after this.
Well, if there's one thing that we know about the modern athlete, it's that they don't party too much. They really stay away from the women. And I'm sure their diets are 100% on track.
It's so boring. It is so boring now.
Yeah, but you start to think, what sport do you look at the athletes and go, if they were playing today? Because if I look at basketball, Bill Russell was 6'9". Bill Russell would be JaVale McGee from, very athletic. But Bill Russell wasn't a scorer. He was just a rebounder and he blocked shots. Wonderful team player. JaVale McGee is probably as athletic, believe it or not. Babe Ruth was not a big guy. He just looked big compared to everybody else who was playing back then. Yes,
Right? Isn't Dan Marino always the guy you go to first?
Yes. Dan Marino today would be even better.
100,000 yards a season.
Yes, he would.
Remember when like the Hogs were like this massive O-line at like 300 pounds a piece?
Yeah.
And now like your average high school team in Texas is like 320 a piece?
But I'm guessing that those guys would be even bigger now. Those linemen would be even bigger now. They would adjust to the times. But I'm talking about what sport can you see those players, like Jack Nicklaus playing with today's technology would be unbelievable, or on Arnold Palmer. So the two greatest golfers of that era would still be great in today's game, in my opinion. If I looked at football at the quarterbacking position, Marino, obviously. Joe Namath, probably. That he threw as good a ball as anybody. Jim Brown. How would Jim Brown be today?
He was 6'2", 230, so there's not a size issue with Jim Brown. He's bigger than Adrian Peterson.
But the style of what you would ask Jim Brown to do would be different. He'd be a pass catcher as well. Yes, McLovin.
Also, some of those leagues weren't fully integrated, and
baseball wasn't.
And baseball's all international. NBA's all international. It's a much bigger talent pool for a lot of these. So I think they're way better athletes.
Yeah. But if I'm looking, like Bob Cousy to me couldn't play now. Some of those other players back in the 60s in the NBA would have a hard time playing.
The shorts were so tight, too.
Yeah, but John Stockton survived with those tight shorts.
How about Alcindor? Kareem?
Well, it'd be different now. That would be the real test case, because you would have Kareem, who's unstoppable, but everybody plays a perimeter-style game. How valuable would he be? Yes,
he would just be doing that from three, which would be fat. That would be looking like Todd, except good.
Yeah, Paulie.
50 years ago today, Lou Alcindor made his rookie debut with the Milwaukee Bucks. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Had a decent start there for the Bucks. What did he average, like 26 and 15 or something?
Yeah, in his first game, he had 29 points.
Yeah. Yes, McLovin.
Do you remember we were in the old man cave? You were shooting with him, and he almost like touched the ceiling on that basket. That was surreal.
And that's why when you watch guys like Steve Nash maneuver around these guys who are 7'2", and you go, how does he do it? We're standing next to Kareem, and you're going, if you're anywhere near him, he's going to block that shot. And I remember the Houston Cougars, when they played UCLA and they snapped their winning streak, they would get on a chair and hold a broom up to let you know this is what it's going to be like to shoot over Lou Alcindor in that game. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work. There is no normal anymore. This is different.
In isolation. Always alone. At least we got Dan. He's my best friend.
No.
Won't say I'm his, but I probably am, unless it is Paul. But he doesn't count. He's just always around. Wearing his plaid, eating his meat. Walter Payton is an overrated clown.
Treat me like family. Treat me like family. Treat me like family.
I'm sorry I lashed out, Paul. Walter Payton is a great man.
Treat me like family. Treat me like family. Nothing but love.
I just miss all of you so very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Paul's not going to be angry, right? He low-key terrifies me, and I can't see his face anymore.
I'm not saying no.
Are you saying yes?
No, I'm not saying yes.
Here he is, broadcasting live from the Mercedes Man Cave, Dan Patrick.
Oh, it's hour 2 on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Glad to have you on board. If you're watching, you're listening, emailing, tweeting, taking part in the chat row. They've submitted some T-shirts, so we're going to try to come up with a chat row T-shirt here shortly. 877-3DP Show, email address dp at danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP Show. I got on my soapbox in the first hour defending Aaron Rodgers as if he needs to be defended here, but some articles came out and some well-respected writers talking about the situation with the Packers, sending a message to Aaron Rodgers. Head coach wants to send a message. The passive-aggressive nature of Aaron Rodgers is not going to continue here. You take Jordan Love. You want to build your team in the image of the San Francisco 49ers, the team that you couldn't stop on the ground. There's a lot of drama. So more on the Packers coming up. Gang's all here ready to go. McLovin, you got a poll question, and are we going to change it?
Okay, hour 1 was, will Aaron Rodgers be a Packers quarterback in 3 years? 68% said no.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I think he's got 2 more years at that money. And then 2022, I believe there is an out. And yeah. I think that, let's see what happens in the meantime here. I'd hate to rush to get Aaron Rodgers out of my system, off my team here if I'm Green Bay. Because Jordan Love, if he's ready, it's probably going to be 3 years down the road. Yeah, McLovin.
I was having a discussion, IMing with Paulie. How many teams would trade for Aaron Rodgers? Like 29 or 20? I mean, most
well, not
teams
29, but
if you Mahomes and Wilson, like there are very few situations where someone wouldn't say, well, if I could get a swipe at Aaron Rodgers, maybe like 20.
The Patriots would. Patriots would be, I'm sure Bill can, we'll take a chance on Aaron Rodgers here. Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers or Jarrett Stidham, I think that they would take Aaron Rodgers. Yes, McLeod.
What about the Cowboys or some team like that whose quarterback is due big money? Maybe they go a different direction and say, hey,
I don't want to get into these hypotheticals because it's not real. In the next 2 years, he replaces Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, and he's known as Jolly Roger. We've already got it. We got the T-shirt. We're going to trademark that, and we'll share the profits with Aaron, but I think that'll be it. Aaron will stay in the NFC and go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and replace Tom Brady. All right, what's the other poll question you're thinking about?
I have a couple options.
Okay.
College basketball or baseball realignment. Which direction you want to go?
All right, give me baseball realignment.
Okay, which sport needs realignment the most? The NBA with the West always being better than the East. NFL with bad divisions. I'm not going to say AFC South, but AFC South. Or baseball because all the high-income teams seem to be in the same division.
All right, baseball's discussing a plan to start the season in late June, playing in home stadiums with a realigned league. The East would have the Yankees, the Mets, Red Sox, Nationals, Orioles. They want to keep everybody in close proximity because of the travel. The West would be the Dodgers, Angels, Giants, A's, Padres, Diamondbacks, Rockies, Rangers, Astros, and the Mariners. And then in the Central would be Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Cardinals, Royals, Reds, Indians, Twins, Braves, and Tigers. I like it. I mean, it's just too early to go, boy, I'll sign up for that. This is all speculative. They got everything on the table. They're talking about when they'll play, and they're talking about late June. I was told that yesterday that, hey, your 4th of July, middle of July is probably a better target date for us, but there's so much that has to happen before we get anywhere near that. They do have all of these proposals. And I said, well, 100 games? They said, well, probably 120 is what we would shoot for, but 100 seems like that could be reasonable, that we could get that in the time frame that they're talking about. It's all speculative. It was fun to see that the Dodgers and Astros would be in the same division, but this is a one-time only. Or maybe what we're going to see with sports is we're going to be doing things, making concessions, and then maybe the year after that, we start to incorporate some of these things that we were looking at. And that, we did it because we had to do it. Just like the NFL draft. The NFL draft next year in Cleveland is not going to look like it was this year, the virtual draft. But you'll have portions of that you'll take with, the draft next year. 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. I was going through shows yesterday and just re-airs, and I stumbled upon Kobe Bryant on the show. And I thought, with all this talk about Michael Jordan, and there's been so much talk about that, and I believe this is around 2 years ago we had Kobe on. And I'm just going to play, it's about 2 minutes worth, but it's just Kobe talking about Michael Jordan. And when you think about the person who's come the closest to actually being Michael Jordan, it was Kobe Bryant. Because Kobe saw Mike, wanted to be Mike. When we say, I'd like to be like Mike, none of us can be like Mike. Kobe says, I can be like Mike. But I like the back and forth. Obviously there's an age difference there, but that didn't stop either one of them from, trash talking when they saw each other. So here's a portion of the interview that I conducted with Kobe Bryant about 2 years ago. We have these different debates, like people, places in history, like can LeBron ever be in the category, the same sentence as Michael Jordan? When did you get to the point where you realized that maybe the media wasn't going to put you in that same category or allow you to get up there with Michael? Or did they?
I never thought about it, to be honest with you. Like I've never tried to waste my energy thinking about things that I definitively cannot win.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like we can sit here and debate, okay, who's better, Kobe or Michael or LeBron and all this other stuff. You debate that till you're blue in the face. I'm not going to waste my energy on it until you develop a time capsule where I can go back in time and face Jordan in 91, 92, 93, put LeBron in that time capsule, put us all in the same era, and then we'll see what's what. But until then, I'm not going to waste my energy on it.
Who would you want to face in their prime if you had that opportunity? Your prime versus their prime.
Michael 91.
Ooh. Oh, you got the year.
No doubt about it.
Oh, okay.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
How would that play out?
How do you think it's going to play out? No, we go at it. And Michael and I have had these conversations before where we sit around and we talk about it. And and I say 91 because that's what felt like the year where he was really, at his prime. Physically, mentally, he just felt like he was just an absolute bull in 91. So I would love to see what that looks like.
But you know how he is. If anybody challenges him, like he comes right back, and So you guys, does he give you grief about it, or?
I'm not necessarily a passive person when it comes to trash talking either, though. So, it's entertaining. I mean, we're both really creative trash talkers. So
that's great. Just hearing him and hearing his voice, and it's a voice that would have been prominent in, the documentary on Michael Jordan. It may still be, because I think they're going to have a Kobe portion of the documentary coming up, or Michael's impact on the league, the marketing, the global marketing, and also younger players wanting to be like Mike. Or at least that's what I've been told. But I just wanted to hear his voice again, talking about that. And you just hear that where here I'm saying, hey, Mike's such a competitive guy. And I'm saying this to Kobe, who's probably going, wait a minute, you're not more competitive. Like he's saying, I'm competitive at who's more competitive, me or Michael. And Kobe is not afraid. He was not afraid. But the fact that he said 1991, you're not even looking at the championship bowls. This is with that first year with Michael. And Mike's, 28 years of age? Mike won his first title at 28. Pretty amazing because he was that one-man show, and then all of a sudden, that's why I hope James Harden looks at this documentary and says, maybe there's a better way to go about this and win a championship. Because James Harden's going to have all of these scoring records, and he's not going to have anything to show for it. There was Jeremy Lin. I think there's a documentary on Jeremy Lin, and it talked about Lin's sanity when he was with the New York Knicks. And he just went off. He had like a couple of week period where he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated twice, and he was just taking the league by storm. This fascination with Jeremy Lin, who came out of Harvard, and all of a sudden he was the player on the New York Knicks. And you had Carmelo and Amari Stoudemire, and you had Mike D'Antoni, and Jeremy Lin fit Mike D'Antoni's style. Carmelo did not. Carmelo was just a great mid-range jump shooter. That's what he did, and he's going to the Hall of Fame because of that. But what I was told at the time, and, it's been reiterated, Carmelo didn't want Jeremy Lin to be the star. And that's where it went off the rails. Jeremy Lin could have helped the Knicks be a better team, but Carmelo wanted to make sure that if they were going to be a better team, it was because of him. And you get egos, understanding. It's about when we recognize greatness, we start at the end and work our way back. How many championships you win? What did you do in the big games? How clutch were you? That's where we start, and then we work our way back. Aaron Rodgers will debate his greatness by working our way back. How many Super Bowl appearances? How many Super Bowl wins? How many MVPs? How clutch were you? And then you start to work your way back. Postseason appearances, whatever it is. That's why we start with Michael, and people go 6 titles. And if you go 6 titles, then you can't go, well, LeBron's better because he's got 3. You start 6, oh yeah, but LeBron's got 3. Kobe's got 5. But we don't let Kobe into that conversation. Kobe is more like Michael than any player, not even close. Everything about him, his personality, his style, his demeanor, his size, everything about him is like Mike. Everybody. LeBron is nothing like Michael Jordan. Completely different. But that doesn't mean he can't be better than Michael. He's just different. You can have Lamar Jackson at quarterback win an MVP, and you can have Joe Montana. Completely different. Playing the same position. Michael, LeBron playing the same game, running a team, different. And that's what makes this amazing. But you work your way back when you have an argument, you want to win an argument, you usually work your way back. Tom Brady, greatest quarterback of all time. Why? Start at the end, work your way back. Does that mean he's better than Elway? Does that mean he's better than Montana? In my opinion, no. But if we're going to put so much emphasis on winning, then yes, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Bill Russell won 11 titles. Now, is he anywhere near Michael or LeBron? No, he's not. But he won with a team, and the team was so important. If Bill Russell has 2 titles, nobody talks about Bill Russell as one of the greatest of all time. He would be a wonderful defensive player, limited offensively. He won 11. There is that score, the ultimate scoreboard. You just go, I got 11. How many you got? I got an Olympic gold and 1 title in San Francisco when I was in college. You can't argue with any of that. That's why when people want to look at greatness and how important it is to win, it's titles. Individual honors are wonderful. It's about titles. Melo will look back and go, hey, he won a title at Syracuse, but he didn't win anything in the pros. James Harden, we may go, he didn't win anything in college, didn't win anything in the pros. One of the great scorers of all time. Whereas Klay Thompson and Steph Curry will be thought of in a higher regard than James Harden because it was about team. It was about an ensemble. They did something. Dennis Rodman won titles. You can say he was crazy. He won titles. If he didn't have titles and he just had the hair and he dated Carmen Electra and Madonna, he'd not be a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer because he won titles. Yeah, Paul.
You're going back to what Kobe Bryant said in that clip. It's weird to hear his voice. right after he passed away, I saw a lot of stuff about him, and I think it was Michael Wilbon talking about him, saying there's some clips of Kobe Bryant right after he got drafted, maybe a couple years after he got drafted, saying people were comparing to Michael Jordan. He was like, good, bring it on. That's what I want. He goes, if you're comparing me to Michael Jordan, that's what I want.
Oh, man.
And people are like, no, we're saying you're trying too hard to be like him. And he's like, I'm embracing that challenge. I want to have a career equal to or better than his. And Wilbon was saying, he goes, that's a scary thing about Kobe Bryant, that he was not afraid of that challenge and embraced it and talked about it outwardly.
Because there were other players who didn't want that label.
Right.
Grant Hill did not want to be called, hey, you're the next Jordan. It was a heavy, heavy burden. Kobe's like, bring it on. Are you kidding me? What a compliment if you say that I want to be like Mike. I'm the next Jordan. And he came pretty close, pretty damn close. They faced each other 8 times. Michael won 3 times. Kobe won 5. Mike averaged 24 and a half. Kobe averaged just under 23. Kobe shot better from the floor. I don't know what those numbers really mean, but the fact that Kobe was not afraid to take it to Michael. And I just loved hearing his voice, especially on this topic with Michael and the Bulls and greatest of all time. Phone calls coming up, 877-3DP Show, email address dp@danpatrick.com. I thought I was in the minority when I said I love the Jameis Winston move to New Orleans. I think a lot of people have come around on this, that Jameis Winston, who I believe is 26, is going to the New Orleans Saints. And you're going to learn under Drew Brees and Sean Payton. It is an ideal situation. We'll hear from Jameis Winston coming up, and we'll get to your phone calls. We'll see if we're going to stay on that poll question. We'll check in with the Packers. Also in the final hour, Guy Fieri will join us. He's doing some great things for restaurant workers. And, of course, he wants to probably talk about his Las Vegas Raiders. So Guy will join us coming up next hour. 877-3DP Show, email address dp@danpatrick.com. And you can watch on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. And, of course, we're on 362 radio affiliates around the country. 17 after the hour, this is The Dan Patrick Show. 1-800-Flowers. Just remember that. So when you go, I got to get my mom something. Oh, 1-800-Flowers. 1-800-Flowers.com. They got a special on right now. You get the 24 multicolored roses for 20% off. That's the original price. And you're going to be able to get this and order now. Then you just take it, because you're probably doing what I did yesterday. When I said to my kids, hey, just remember Mother's Day. And they go, when is it? I go, I don't know. Paulie, do you know when Mother's Day is?
A week from Sunday?
Okay, good. All right, so I got this special order, and I took advantage of this. Well, now my wife knows what she's getting. All right, well, she'll still love it. 24 multicolored roses, $39.99, an amazing offer, 1-800-Flowers. And by the way, you get the roses, it's delivered to you, but you don't come in contact with the person who's delivering the flowers. So all deliveries, contactless. 1-800-Flowers.com to order the multicolored roses for $39.99. You see a radio icon when you go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Enter the promo code Patrick. 1-800-Flowers.com. Code Patrick. The offer ends on Wednesday. So take me up on this, and Mom will thank you for it. When you played with Jordan, you knew you were playing with the best player in the sport. When did you know you were coaching? And I don't know if you feel this way, that Steph Curry is the best player in the sport.
Well, it's a different feeling. Michael was so dominant physically, emotionally. I mean, I always got the sense that everybody was afraid of him. The opponents, the referees, his teammates. I mean, he was so dominant in a just with his presence. And with Steph, it's totally different. I mean, he looks like your little brother, and he's just out there running around and firing away and hitting these incredible shots. But he dominates with his skill. Michael did too, but Michael dominated with just his very presence. And I think it's a different feeling with Steph, and I think it's one of the reasons he's so popular. I think people can actually relate, not so much to the skill, but just to, his physical stature and just the fact that he looks like a normal guy. It's remarkable that he can dominate the way he does, at that size.
We were talking about 20-year anniversary of The Sopranos, and we were wondering, would Breaking Bad have been made if we didn't have The Sopranos?
I don't think so. I think what they were able to, David Chase was able to do in creating a character like Tony Soprano was certainly paving the way to allow the space for someone like Walter White to exist. Yeah, it was groundbreaking.
Because I don't know if you root for the bad guy, but you don't root against. It feels like there's empathy for the bad guy.
Well, it is easy. It's not that clear. What you root for is humanity. When you see the humanity in Tony Soprano, for instance, the element of going to a therapist says he's searching. He's looking for something else, looking for some measure of wholeness as a human being. And that's embraceable. And I think that's why that character worked, is that he would go and he would kill someone, and then he'd go home and he'd have to deal with his son's homework or tardiness or his wife is complaining. He was just a guy dealing with the stuff that we all deal with. And you go, oh, I know what that guy's dealing with.
But Walter White didn't go to a therapist, did he, in Breaking Bad?
No, he didn't have time. The clock was ticking on Walter White.
Did you think about that? Was that ever broached in the script, that he would actually be confessing to somebody?
I think Vince Gilligan did consider something like that, but it seemed to slow down the pace and the tempo of what he was trying to do. And as you notice, as the seasons went on, it quickened. We lost some of the humor of the earlier seasons when things got more tense and desperate, and naturally the humor falls away because it's too horrific to witness.
I saw some Super Bowl odds after the draft. Kansas City remains the betting favorite to win Super Bowl 55 in Tampa. This according to the William Hill Sportsbook. They're now 4-1. They were 7-1 back on January 20th. But keep in mind, they kept 22 of their 24 returning starters. And I know you're going to go, wait, aren't there 22 starters, offense and defense? Hey, I didn't write this article. Somebody else did. So 22 of their 24 first stringers are returning. They redid Sammy Watkins' contract. They just got rid of their punter. They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. No team has gone back-to-back since the Patriots of 03-04. The Ravens are 13-2 odds to win the Super Bowl. That's down from 7-1. Followed by the Niners, 7-1, which is what they were on January 20th. Why January 20th? You would think that it would, well, whatever. The Saints are up from 11-1 to 10-1. My Cowboys are 12-1. They were 20-1. Yeah, Paulie.
Do you think people are going to cool on the Ravens, not their roster, but Lamar Jackson because of his past 2 playoff appearances?
Well, I think if he's not successful this postseason, now you start to look at this and say this might be habit forming. But he's 23 years of age.
Yeah,
So
I know I'm not trying to overreact. I'm just saying, as far as picking him to win the
his
Super Bowl,
career's over. He can't win in the playoffs. He's 20. We just said Jordan was 28 when he won his first title.
Washed up.
Yeah. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski with the Buccaneers. Their odds were 50-1, now 14-1. Seahawks are 18-1. No, 17-1. Packers, with all of that unrest, apparently, they are at 18-1. Eagles 18-1. Patriots 20-1. Bills 20-1. If that matters too. I also thought that the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, who just got there, came over from the Vikings, had some interesting comments on Baker Mayfield. He says they're going to, quote, keep their thumb on him. I don't know what that means, and I don't know if somebody said, hey, Coach, could you tell us what keep your thumb on him means? I know the Stones have a song, Under My Thumb, but I'm going to guess that means we're going to make sure that we keep, we don't let him go too much off the script here. The coach said, I feel confident that we put him in the system we're implementing. We've added some pieces to the offensive side of the ball. He's won in high school. He's won in college. He's won some games in the NFL. Now it's his third year. I just think there's a natural progression to these things. All right. Yeah, they got talent there. They did well in the draft. Cleveland Browns had better go to the playoffs this year. Now, obviously, a first-year coach, Kevin Stefanski, it's not in jeopardy. But if Baker Mayfield doesn't have a year similar to what he had his rookie year, then I think the Cleveland Browns start to look at this and go, is he a long-term solution? And you might go, wait, after 3 years? Yes, after 3 years. Jameis Winston, they gave him 5 in Tampa. He's now with the New Orleans Saints at the ripe old age of 26. And he had some smart things to say. He was doing a chat with former NFL quarterback Charlie Ward, and he said what it's like to put your ego aside because you're going to be there with Drew Brees.
I wanted to put my ego aside, put the money to the side, and think about my family, think about my career. It was no better position than to be in the same room with someone that I really looked up to, someone that I admired since I've been playing this game, and Drew Brees.
Yeah, it makes sense because you can look at this and go, Jameis Winston could be the quarterback of the future for the Saints, not Taysom Hill. Jameis Winston's a better quarterback. You don't want to hear this. You don't. He's a better quarterback than Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill doesn't play quarterback. He hasn't played quarterback in years. We love the fascination of Taysom Hill. We've seen everything Jameis Winston can do. Taysom Hill, you're like, whoa, he's like Lamar Jackson. He gives you a little tease like, oh, man, we could turn him loose like Lamar Jackson. Jameis Winston is probably your future at quarterback. If you decide that that's, the direction you want to go in with a replacement for Drew, Drew's going into the broadcast booth next year. Signed with NBC Sports. Jameis Winston, I think this is a spectacular place for Jameis Winston. Now what he does with it is going to decide his future. If he's going to be a legitimate star in the league, we're going to find out. Over the next 2 years, we're going to know because let's see what he learns. Let's see what he takes away from Drew Brees. And there's no competition there. It's just like Jordan Love. What are you taking away from Aaron Rodgers? What is Aaron Rodgers going to teach you? Drew Brees, it's different. Drew Brees is saying, hey, I'll help you the best way I can. But Taysom Hill, it feels like last time he was a great quarterback was maybe his freshman year at BYU. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, you're right, Dan. It was 2013. He was a sophomore at BYU. He threw for 3,000 yards and 19 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. He also ran for 1,000. He was a great all-purpose quarterback. Then he got hurt in 14, hurt in 15. In 2016, he played 12 games at quarterback, and he hasn't played quarterback since.
He's a great athlete. Now, they didn't pay him as a quarterback, but they did pay him. But I look at this is Jameis Winston's team moving forward if he progresses. It's all about decision-making. And I talked to a source last night. I said, explain to me Jalen Hurts going as high as he did. Not that he's going to the Eagles, because I do like Jalen Hurts, but I like him as a person. I like how he handled Alabama when he lost his job in the national title game. He went to Oklahoma and had a resurgence there, and he made himself into a pro quarterback. But I said, I was surprised he went that high. And my source said that he was surprised as well. He said, second half of the season, defenses reacted to him, and he didn't process the information as quickly as he needed to. And that's when Lincoln Riley went to the backup quarterback because they needed to get the ball out quicker. Jalen was not processing this. Remember that first 2 months, first 6 weeks, he was unbelievable. And then all of a sudden defenses sort of figured out what to do against him. That would be the big knock on Jalen Hurts is, can you process? This is what separates good from great, great from Hall of Fame. Can you process this in 15 seconds? We can all do practice. You can be unbelievable in practice. You can study the playbook. You can watch game film. Now when there's live bullets, what do you do? And I think that'll be the interesting part of this with Jalen Hurts. How do you use him? And, is it going to be a smart decision to take Jalen Hurts that high in the draft? I'm glad he got drafted high. But, from my source, hey, he's not ready and not going to be ready for a little while from the standpoint of processing this information. Just pointed out to me, Peyton Manning didn't win a playoff game until his 6th season. He lost his first 3 postseason games. It took him 9 seasons to win the Super Bowl. We speed up the process with these younger quarterbacks. And it's not fair to them, but that's the new NFL. Hey, how are you doing? You got to get us to a playoff. Got to get us to a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, he went from, oh, what a curiosity, to, oh, he's now taken over. Oh, wow, he's a lot of fun. Oh, he lost in the playoffs to the Chargers. To, oh, my God, he's the MVP of the season. You go into the wait, they just lost? So now you go, okay, now what does he do this year that prevents that, where you get over that hump? And he's only 23. This isn't about the regular season. There's a lot of athletes. James Harden is not about the regular season. You kind of figured that out. That's a master's class there. Lamar Jackson, regular season, okay. It's going to be about the postseason. There's certain players where you go, you haven't answered that question yet. And until you do, it's always going to be about the postseason. And Lamar Jackson is too young to put a time frame on. I don't know if he can win the big one. He's 23. Remarkable. Yes, Paulie.
Jameis Winston this year is going to be one of the lowest paid quarterbacks in the entire NFL. His base salary for 2020 is $952,000. He has a lot of incentives, up to $3.4 million if somehow he plays a lot of football, which is not expected this year. If Drew Brees stays healthy, he'll make $952,000 this year.
He talked about what it's going to be like to play for New Orleans with Sean Payton and Drew Brees.
Being a part of New Orleans Saints, being a part with Drew Brees, Taysom Hill, Sean Payton, Coach Joe Lombardi, Coach Pete Carmichael Jr. When you think about that room, it's like a Harvard education in quarterback school.
That's the approach. Go in, soak it up, and you can't fill up enough notepads. That's it. Because if you do it right, you're going to be the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. And you're going to get paid. That's the most important part there. All right, we'll get to phone calls here. Fritzy, what do you have on today?
I'm wearing that meat sweatshirt that you gave me a while back for Guy Fieri. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I don't know there's many pronunciations, but I figured I should wear this today since we have a celebrity chef on the show.
I like that. That's your steak sweatshirt?
My steak sweatshirt, my hooded steak sweatshirt.
I like that. How many pounds of beef do you think that is?
Are you talking about me or my sweatshirt?
No, your sweatshirt.
I'm saying something in the neighborhood of like solid 8 to 10 pounds worth.
Yeah,
you look per side.
Yeah, you look like you lost some weight though.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely got a ways to go. I'm trying to walk a lot more since there's not a lot to do around the neighborhood.
That's
these
good.
days.
That's good. McLevin, update the poll results. Are we going to stay with the one we had, or are you going to go on to something else?
Well, we could go in a different direction. The first couple hours was, will Aaron Rodgers be a Packer in 3 years? 69% now say no.
Well, judging from what's being written now, and granted, it's the offseason. It feels like the last couple of off seasons, his leadership was questioned. his relationship with Matt LaFleur coming in from Mike McCarthy, and now they sent him a message. Can't you send a message by just sending a message? Do you have to draft a quarterback to send a message to him? Like, the only way this is going to get through to Aaron's a pretty bright guy. I'm guessing that you could send a message to him and he'd go, yeah, I got it. All right. He's 36. Aaron Rodgers not changing. That's who he is. And for better or for worse, but all of a sudden you want to change your offense. Unless you go, Aaron Rodgers' talents have deteriorated that much where he had 4 interceptions. What did he throw? 26, 20?
Yeah, 4 interceptions in 16 games.
Yeah, he threw for 4,000. I mean,
that's twice as many as 2013 when he threw 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
2018.
Well, he's slipping a little bit. Yeah, Seton.
But that soundbite of him just before the draft keeps ringing in my ear of him saying, man, it sure would be nice if we drafted some skill position players. And they go out and get a quarterback. It's
yeah.
Like, dang, dude. They don't care at all.
Oh, I would have loved to have been there with Danica Patrick and Aaron in Malibu.
They read off that name.
All of a sudden they're going,
are you kidding
hey,
me?
Hey, honey, Packers are on the clock. Okay, all right, hold on, I'll be in there. And the Packers select quarterback out of Utah State, Jordan Love.
Excuse me.
Damn it.
Turn it off. Just turn it off. Turn it off. Hey, the Packers are on the clock again. All right, okay, I'll come in. And the Packers select running back A.J. Dillon. Turn it off! Turn it off! Hey, wait. The Packers are on the clock again, hon. And the Packers select H-back Josiah DeGuerro.
Nice.
Huh? Hey, they're on the clock. All right. And the Packers take Simon Stepaniak, Jake Hansen, John Runyon. Did we get any wide receivers, hon? No, you didn't. Yeah, Paul.
Would it be great if Aaron Rodgers tweeted out in response to we're tired of his act? Cool. Give me some new castmates to play with or something like that, because the guy's got to respond to this. He's got a lot of shows. He goes on the shows in Milwaukee, other different shows. Do you think he will? Aaron Rodgers isn't a bite my tongue guy.
Well,
he's a jabber.
Well, he's a passive aggressive, so he's going to get that out somehow, some way. But he said, "Look, I get it. You're going to draft a quarterback. Go back to the Patriots when Tom Brady had a bad year, and they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo second round. Aaron Rodgers didn't have a bad year. The Packers overachieved. Like, I think because of Aaron Rodgers, he gives them a self-inflated worth of, man, we're actually good. No, you're not. At best, you're a 10-win team last year. In my opinion, you're not 13-3. You were not in the ballpark with San Francisco. You just weren't. And I think he gives them that, hey, we got Aaron here. He'll make something happen. This is a team that took a running back and made him into a wide receiver and made him into a running back. Montgomery?
Yeah, Ty Montgomery out of Stanford. I used to love him in the backfield wearing number 88. I thought that was so cool.
So, hey, we need a running back. We'll just take a wide receiver. Like, at some point, you would go, man, it'd be fun if we traded up and got C.D. Lamb. Like, if I said C.D. Lamb was on the Packers, you got a running back, you got another wide receiver, you got Devontae Adams. Like, okay, all right. Now, all right, we're going to put some pressure on some people. Or if you trade up and get one of these defensive linemen, a run stopper, that would have been nice. Jeff in Detroit is joining us. Hi, Jeff.
What up, though, Dan? One time for the chat row. Listen here, man. You guys need to calm it down a little bit. First of all, the Green Bay Packers pick was brilliant. Going up to get Jordan Love, smart people in the front office. You got to think of the future. Number two, Matt LaFleur is a pure genius. Coach of the year. His 13-3 schedule. His 13-3 schedule thing, man. Listen here. A backup quarterback could have done that. And number three, Aaron Rodgers. How good is he? What do we really know about the guy? If I was Aaron Rodgers, I'd be calling Jake from State Farm, checking on warm weather states. Because, listen, in all seriousness, Green Bay is not respecting that man's gangster, and you got to respect the man's gangster. If I was Aaron, I'd just go as far away from the NFC North as possible. Sign, Lions fan.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, of course, Lions apologist. Here's a stat for you. Actually, I'm going to take a break. It'll blow you away.
Easy, Greeny.
Whoa. You think Mike Greenberg went, wow, no, that's a tease.
This will change
Get
your
up.
life. This will change your life.
Hey, get up. Trying to get excited.
The most significant numbers you could possibly hear.
That's next. On Get Up. I just don't have that energy anymore to say that. And get up. Greeny's able to do it, man. Good for him. We'll check in with the Packers coming up top of the hour. And, of course, Guy Fieri. We're getting our audience. And, look, I love the audience. Love the chat row, and they keep us honest here. I got people who are giving me the pronunciation guide for Guy Fieri. I would love for Guy Fieri, when he comes on, I'm going to say, how do you pronounce your name? And if he said it's Guy, not Guy, like he wouldn't even get to Fieri. He'd go, it's Guy Fieri. But Seton says, you got to use your hands.
Yeah. You bring all of your fingers have to come together in order to properly pronounce his name. It's Fieri.
Like mozzarella.
Mozzarella.
It's weird, though. There are certain words in Italian, or if you're ordering off the menu, it feels like you always got your hand up like this. Yes, Paul.
So the R in Fieri is more like an L, like Guy Fieri.
I don't know. That's how I pronounce it. But then, we had the audience that some people said, hey, I think Dan's mispronouncing Guy Fieri's name. So I said, all right.
So you're saying it's Guy Fieri?
No. I just did that as
I'm throwing the L in, Guy Fieri.
Just a light L, just a smattering of L after the guy in the Fier.
Guy Fieri.
I know how to pronounce Flavortown.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask him. How do you pronounce your last name?
Flavortown or Flavortown?
Ooh, I don't know.
Like if you want to be more street, is it Flavortown?
Okay. We'll take a break. I got a great stat. It may not, blow your doors off, but it'll keep you through the commercial break here. At least I hope. And if you're watching on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show, it's time to go to the mail room. It's time to open up some mail from our audience. That's after this here on the Dan. Get up here on the Dan Patrick Show. Are you still a Colts fan?
Yes, yes, I am.
But more of a Cardinals fan.
Cardinals, yeah. I'm a baseball guy. I've even got my Cardinal little pendant thing on me right now.
Have you thrown out the first pitch?
I have, a couple times. The most nerve-wracking one was when, because I was a pitcher, and I grew up as a pitcher.
Okay.
And, through high school and into the senior Babe Ruth and, American Legion, all that kind of stuff. And I actually had a tryout with the Kansas City Royals and got my collarbone broken at their camp. And I was a junk pitcher. It's pretty good. And Tony La Russa and all those guys, they knew that. And that my hero was Bob Gibson.
Ooh.
And so in 98, it was the year McGuire hit 70 home runs and all that. And I knew a bunch of those guys. I was down in the clubhouse before the game, and I was going to throw out the first pitch. They were playing the Braves. And so I was taking a picture with McGuire and Tony, and somebody else was down there. I can't remember who. And they were going to take a picture of us. Well, Gibson shows up. And he gets in the picture with us. And Tony said, Bob, you're the guy's hero. Why don't you catch the ball for him today? And then it's like, oh, good. So now, see, if they know you're a pitcher or a player at all, you can't do like a politician and kind of roll it on the grass or whatever.
And you got to go up to the mound, to the rubber.
Oh, yeah. And so here's Gibson catching the thing. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to throw him a slider and just see if it works out, because that was one of my best pitches. And I had learned my slider out of an instructional book he had in the 60s that showed you. It was like the Bob Gibson book. You can get this thing. It looked like a coloring book almost. It was like a paper book. And I had it and learned all my pitches out of that book. And so I threw him the slider, and it was about probably, 6 inches off the plate. It was a real good one.
Yeah.
And he walks out to the mound and hands me the ball back, and he looked at me, he goes, man, that's a damn good slider. He goes, where'd you get that? And I said, out of your book. He said, my book? And I said, yeah, the one where it told all your pitches. He goes, oh, that thing. Like he'd almost forgotten about it, And so it was a nice moment. And because, Bob wasn't always known for being like, he had a reputation as not being a warm guy,
Well, he pitched that way.
Right, he sure pitched that way. But after I threw him that pitch that day, I had several conversations afterward with him about he loved blues music and all that kind of thing. And so we would talk about that. And he told me stories about he and Hank Aaron, and all this kind of thing. It was really nice.
It's mail time! TCMA. Military. A patch for the man cave. Tactical communication maintenance applications. All right. This is TBAA soccer. Well, all right, I have a little bit more love for soccer since I watched the documentary on Sunderland, but this is really about flying the colors of the police, military, and firefighters. Like King City, Oregon. Love it. Thank you. Fairfax County, Virginia Police. Come get some of that. I like that. That's from Justin Rayner. He has the captain for Fairfax is his buddy. This is a used Eugene Fire Department. That one's been used. That's been in battle. 6'1", 74 years of age. Paul Branson, retired. Thank you. That's awesome. Man, I love getting these patches. Thank you. We started this hour, I played a clip from a Kobe Bryant interview that I conducted a couple of years ago where he talked about Michael Jordan and how he would have loved to have faced Michael in 1991. I had Paulie reach out to the director of the Jordan documentary, The Last Dance. I was curious, hopefully they interviewed Kobe Bryant, and the word you got back from the director?
Yeah, Jason Hayer, the director, said that they did a full sit-down with Kobe Bryant July 2019 for the Jordan Bulls documentary.
Do we know what was talked about?
He's going to send me a couple tidbits, but yes, they had extensive content with him.
All right, here's my stat. We've been talking about Aaron Rodgers, started the show talking about Aaron Rodgers. Top 10 all-time passing touchdown leaders. Touchdown passes to first-round draft picks. Peyton Manning has 293 touchdown passes to first-round draft picks. Eli Manning is second, 135. Brett Favre, 127. Tom Brady, 105 touchdown passes to first-round draft picks. Drew Brees, 104. Dan Marino, 84. Fran Tarkington, 74. Ben Roethlisberger, 69. Phillip Rivers, 35. Aaron Rodgers, 1.
Stat of the day, stat of the day. Here comes the stat of the day, yeah, stat of the day, stat of the day. Here comes the stat of the day.
I'm going to guess Aaron Rodgers deserves a little more credit. He has one career touchdown pass to a first-round draft pick. Yes, Paulie.
Do you give any more credit to the Packers GM and scouting department to find decent receivers, good receivers in the second, third, and fourth round? They got guys like, Jordy Nelson, those type of guys, Cobb, all those guys.
No, it's nice, but it would be nice to get that guy who's a Hall of Famer.
Devontae Adams is a second-round draft pick.
He's good. They have had good receivers. Have they had the truly great receiver? Yes, Eden.
Aaron Rodgers has actually benefited from not having that superstar wide receiver who's, the diva who's always open that you have to get, you have to get passes going their way. Now, because he's never had that person, he's been able to spread the ball out however he sees fit, which has really just boosted his numbers.
And that's what Tom Brady was able to do. That Belichick purposely said, hey, I don't want the defense to lock in on one of our guys, so I'm going to go get you some average wide receivers here, some really small white guys. I'm going to get 2 tight ends, one guy who eventually go to prison for murder. But, hey, look, I want to throw the defense off here. I don't want them to think they know what's coming here.
Freedom to go through your progression, check down.
Okay,
there you go.
I like when we try to act like we know what we're talking about. Wait, no, he's just not going through his progressions there. Yeah. Yes, McLevin.
I'm going through it, though. The great receivers never win the Super Bowl. We've done that study before. Like, number one receivers just do not.
He has one touchdown pass to a guy who was a first-round draft pick. One.
Yeah.
Peyton's got 293.
Yeah. Who was that? Yeah, I guess they have some guys. But generally,
Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne.
There seems to be this trend. The number one receiver doesn't win it at all. Julio should have won. They were up 28-3.
It's too soon to say that. Mike in Iowa. Hey, Mike, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Mike.
5'11", pre-COVID 298, post-COVID 300.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
So did Green Bay draft Jordan Love in order to hold him for 4 years so that they can get a good deal, saying that he is he's a backup, and get a team-friendly deal in 4 years so that, they can have a cheap quarterback and continue the greatness?
Well, I mean, if that's their long game, then good luck with that, because you don't even know what you're getting, and you just traded up to use a first-round draft pick on him. But thanks for the phone call, Mike. I'm sure they have a great game plan here. But I'm just looking at this right now, Packers this year and Packers next year. If you don't like his passive-aggressive attitude, why did you sign him up to this contract? If the front office was ready to move on, so much so you got to send a message by drafting. Hey, the only way we can get through to Aaron is if we take a quarterback in the draft. If that's the case, then why don't you go up and get Tua Tagovailoa? Do you want to really send a message? That would really send a message. Jordan Love, I don't think that's sending a message other than, once again, you guys don't give me offensive weapons. That's all. But if you want to take a quarterback, Jacob Eason would have been the way to go if you want to develop a guy and I don't have to give up a first-round pick and trade up to get him. Every offseason, Aaron Rodgers comes up because of not a leader, his relationship or lack thereof with his quarterback or with his coach, and you didn't get him any offensive help in the draft. But he's the most talented quarterback of all time. Yeah, Paul.
And also, like you said the other day, it doesn't make sense financially. If you were trying to get rid of Aaron Rodgers soon, it kind of makes sense in a year or two. But if you're planning on keeping Aaron Rodgers for the length of his contract, which I think is 4 more seasons,
years,
then you're not going to get the financial value out of having the rookie quarterback Love, because then you're going to have to re-sign him.
There's no way Aaron Rodgers is there in 4 years. It's just not. I can't see it. And not now, because you've said this is our game plan. Last week, maybe you would say, well, yeah, Aaron Rodgers will retire as a Packer. I can't see that happening. We'll check in with the Packers coming up. Also, Guy Fieri will join us coming up on loan from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Final hour, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show here on this Wednesday. That's all it is. It's just thousands and thousands of times where you come out here and you put on a clinic. You put on a show. Now, if you're learning how to shoot, this is what I would suggest. Start here, because you want to get the feeling of, so it feels good coming off your hand, then back up. You want to know what that feeling is like to follow through. Because if you start out here with little kids, younger kids will be here and they're hoisting shots up. And then you could end up with a shot like Lonzo Ball. If I was his dad, I could have helped him with his shot years ago. But you just want to get there so you get that follow through. And then you get right to the foul line. So you establish sort of that feeling of what that's like. And then you're able to get that rhythm. So I got form. You want form, you don't want distance. Okay? Leave the three-pointers to the professionals. Come in here, start with just the feel. Make 10 in a row, 10 in a row, 10 in a row, 10 in a row. And then do it again. You'll end up with a great looking shot. And hold your form. Watch Jordan when he would shoot, he would keep this up there like that. The great shooters follow through. Klay Thompson, maybe the best shot in the NBA. But when you see it, follow through.
May 7th, 2012. In history, every now and then, there are days when everything culminates, days when average is expected, and exceptional is attained, days which can't be explained, but revered for the influence they had on the industry and the world. May 7th, 2012 was one of those days.
As an entertainer, sometimes you're able to pinpoint that moment where you think you want to do this for a living. Watching Dan that day, that was it for me.
We've wanted that to happen for so long, and it finally worked out.
Hour one, Michael Jordan right here in studio. The one we've been trying to get for years. I mean, more than a decade. Dan wasn't going to waste this shot.
Well, you could tell Dan definitely wanted a piece of MJ.
Piece of him? I wanted the whole damn thing.
Yeah, we did it live on the show. It happened right here. Jordan's got the ball first.
Dan slaps the floor and then goes for it.
Dan steals the ball from MJ and spins.
And then, like Mav in Top Gun, Dan hits the brakes, Jordan flies right by, and then,
bang.
Oh, man, drop the hammer.
Dan Patrick dunking on Michael Jordan. I think that's where Do You Believe in Miracles came from.
Dan dunking on Jordan? I had that poster on my wall growing up.
DP couldn't help himself. He had to step right over MJ and talk some smack.
I couldn't believe that. You reach, I teach. I told Dan that before. And then he's going to use my line on Michael Jordan? Are you kidding me?
You knew you were seeing something special, something you've never seen before, something you never see again.
What? No. No. Damn it. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
There is no normal anymore. This is different.
In isolation. Always alone. At least we got Dan. He's my best friend.
No.
Won't say I'm his, but I probably am, unless it is Paul. But he doesn't count. He's just always around. Wearing his plaid, eating his meat. Walter Payton is an overrated clown. Treat me like family. Treat me like family. Treat me like family. I'm sorry I lashed out, Paul. Walter Payton is a great man. Treat me like family. Treat me like family. Nothing but love. I just miss all of you so very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Paul's not going to be angry, right? He low-key terrifies me, and I can't see his face anymore.
I'm not saying no.
Are you saying yes?
No, I'm not saying yes.
Here he is, broadcasting live from the Mercedes Man Cave. Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Wednesday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Covered a lot of ground, a lot of territory here. Spent some time railing on the Packers with the Aaron Rodgers situation. We'll talk to Tom Silverstein. He covers the Packers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. He had some quotes had to do with Aaron Rodgers, this whole situation that's going on there. And, it was an interesting column. He talked about the Rodgers-Matt LaFleur issues, and even the GM, Brian Gutekunst, tipped LaFleur's hand on what the season would look like by drafting a running back, an H-back, and 3 big interior offensive linemen. They want to be the 49ers of the Midwest. The running game is a big part of the offense, just like it is with the Niners and Rams. And therefore, I don't know, what that means by you're not going to be like the Niners by drafting Jordan Love, but the other players, okay, I get it. That's what you want to do. That's who you are. Why did you sign Aaron Rodgers to that extension? A very expensive extension. Why did you do it? If you don't like his attitude, you want to send a message to him, you got him for the next 2 years. Oh, good luck with that. Also, Guy Fieri will join us coming up as well. He's doing some great things for restaurant workers and wanted an opportunity to be able to tell people about it, so we'll talk to him as well. Charles Barkley was on in the first hour of our show, and he said that the Bulls owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, and not the GM, Jerry Krause, was the main reason why the Chicago Bulls broke up. We looked at Jerry Krause was the villain. And then
No, he wasn't.
No. He was portrayed as the villain because, at the end, because he took it apart.
He didn't take that apart. Anybody think that's a fool? That thing was all orchestrated by Jerry Reinsdorf. The notion that that little man broke up the Bulls is asinine and absurd. Hey, listen, John, if you go back and look at and use common sense, just use plain common sense. Jerry Reinsdorf broke up the Bulls because he didn't want to pay anybody.
That's Charles Barkley from the first hour of the show. And he's right. That's why that Monday I came in after episodes 1 and 2 of The Last Dance. And I said, why is it the owner has no blood on his hands for breaking up the Bulls? I can't imagine an owner going to say to his GM, hey, do what you want to do. The owner's the one who has to pay all that money to these players. It was just a financial move on the Bulls' part. All right, we'll get to your phone calls, 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Got a couple of stats here. I mentioned that Aaron Rodgers, in his career, has thrown a touchdown pass to 1 first-round pick. Peyton Manning has threw 293 touchdown passes to guys taken in the first round. By the way, the player taken in the first round, I don't even believe he was taken by the Packers in the first round. Mercedes Lewis. He was the Jags' first-round draft pick in 2006. That was the TD pass that he had last season to Mercedes Lewis. So this is a guy who was taken in the first round in 2006. In his first 11 seasons as a starter, Rodgers has had no touchdown passes to a first-round draft pick. File that away for what it's worth, but it seems like he's doing a lot more with a whole lot more with little than most quarterbacks. That's probably why Tom Brady goes, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Maybe I could have some fun. Hey, look at those receivers Tampa has. Boy, that'd be kind of fun to go, oh, the guy's open. Oh, I don't have to throw him open. He's open. I can't imagine Aaron Rodgers with this team. In 3 years from now, when we're doing this, we'll be talking about Aaron Rodgers on a different team. It just feels like that. Feels like And you're going to speed up the divorce here, it feels like, or at least try to. In 2 games versus the Niners last season. So if I take the regular season and the NFC title game, the Packers were outscored 74-28. What exactly did you do to prepare your team for that game or that moment? Your offense? No, 28 points. In 2 games. Your defense, you gave up 74. They allowed almost 400 yards rushing and 6 rushing touchdowns in those 2 games. That would signal, now they did overachieve, but that would signal, our defensive line's probably not very good. And if we're not scoring points against the Niners defense, which, by the way, was elite, maybe we need a couple of weapons on offense. Not another running back and an H-back and some big offensive linemen. But, hey, what do I know about this? Yes, McLovin.
Dan, what is he complaining about? They got him Mercedes Lewis. First rounder.
Yeah, I know. From 2006. See, that's the thing where you go, he had a first rounder on that team. Oh, who was that? Mercedes Lewis. Drafted in 2006 in the first round. What are you complaining about, Aaron? You got a first rounder. Yeah, Paul.
We talked about this last year during the trade deadline. We were talking about teams that should trade for the wide receiver. Remember, wasn't Sanu went to the Patriots? And the guy that was left was Emmanuel Sanders.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said that's the team. And the Packers got to go get him.
You said it last year. You're like, that's the team that needs help because, Devontae Adams, very good player, just needed help.
Yep. That was the guy I went, grab him. When Sanu went to New England, and then I go, okay, Emmanuel Sanders is going to be available by the Broncos. That's where I thought, if Green Bay got Emmanuel Sanders, all right, at least you have, if I'm facing the Packers, I'm worried about Devontae Adams. Nobody else is really scaring me. Now, they may have some players who develop. Maybe. We didn't know as much about Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson. We knew Jordy was a great athlete, but we didn't know he would be an all-pro. Randall Cobb was a quarterback in college. So you have these situations where you go, okay, we can develop those players. It'd be nice to have somebody already developed. Like C.D. Lamb or Ruggs, Judy. That's a little bit different, I would think, when it comes to when you open up the pantry there, the Packers' offensive pantry, and you go, man, that looks like the same thing we had the last year and the year before and the year before and the year before. Let's check the expiration date on that. Yes, Paul.
I like Marquez Valdez Scantling, but I kind of hope he doesn't become a superstar because I can't say that name all the time. Brutal.
Tom Silverstein, he covers the Packers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Boy, you got a little drama there in the offseason. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to that, having gone through the Favre era and even the Mikowski to Favre era. So, yeah, I've been around a lot of there haven't been a lot of quarterback switches, but there have been some pretty dramatic ones.
How would you sum up the last week here with the Packers?
Well, I could be making more of it, but I kind of think that this is the year that Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur sort of take back the organization, that it's been central to Aaron Rodgers. And, Mike McCarthy had a great run and gave Rodgers a lot of leeway during that time. And now they're seeing it as, okay, how many more years of this is left? And we have to start thinking about, the future. And not only that, Matt LaFleur was not able to really run his entire offense last year. He married a lot of stuff that Rodgers was doing with McCarthy. And I think in some ways it reminds me of that scene in Moneyball when, the man, Art Howe keeps playing the guy he wants to play, and Brad Pitt keeps trading the guys away until he only has that guy to play. And so he's sort of like, okay, I drafted a running back. Okay, I drafted an H-back. And, we have no choice but to run the ball now because that's our strength. And I think that's what he wants to get back to. I think he wants to be a 50% running team. His mentor is Kyle Shanahan. And they drafted a H-back that looks just like Kyle Usich, and he drafted a running back that looks like Derrick Henry, who he had in Tennessee. So there's some changes going on.
No, I get that, Tom. But if I have the most talented quarterback of all time, and all of a sudden I'm going to make my team a running team. The reason why the Niners are a running team is because Jimmy Garoppolo is not Aaron Rodgers. The Tennessee is a running team because they have Ryan Tannehill. You have Aaron Rodgers. That's what I don't understand where you go, this is how we beat the Niners. I just gave some stats on what happened in the regular season and the postseason against the Niners. You didn't score and you didn't stop them. So what did you do in the offseason that says, hey, we're going to score more or we're going to be able to stop them? Jordan Love doesn't help you.
No, he absolutely does not help you right now. But, they addressed the defense last year. They spent a ton of money and capital and draft picks, and they're expecting it to be better in year two. They expect to be a better defense. Although, I think they have to change parts of their scheme to do that, but that's a whole nother show. I think what you have is their belief, and here's the rub to it, is that, we all know Rodgers wasn't happy with McCarthy. So you change a coach, you have to live with the new philosophy. You don't get to pick the coach and what his new philosophy is going to be. And Matt LaFleur's philosophy is to have a strong running game and pass off a play action. But you got to run the ball, a good amount of the time in order to get Aaron Rodgers all the really good opportunities of passing the ball. And in that system, they don't, in Shanahan's system, even in McVay, which are all the same, they don't stress big-time wide receivers. I mean, the 49ers don't have big-time wide receivers. The Rams have good, fast receivers, but they're not, all pros.
But they spent money, though. They spent money on their Brandon Cooks. Like the Rams spent money and tried to upgrade, Cooper Kupp. The Niners, you can say that maybe, they traded for Emmanuel Sanders. You got Kittle, who's involved in the offense as well. I don't know with Rodgers. Is Rodgers there in 3 years, Tom?
Unlikely. I mean, after 2 years, they have been so he's here this year, then 2 more years left of proration on his original guaranteed money at, I think it's 13.5 or 14 million per year. So they could do it in after 2021 and still take a little bit of a hit, but not bad. I think it all depends. I think that what they're saying is if it's 3 years, it's 3 years. But we don't know what's going to happen in 3 years.
Is he difficult to work with, though? Like Rodgers, I've been around him, but you deal with him differently. Is it real or media created that he is passive-aggressive, he's difficult, he's a diva, all the things that you hear?
Well, I think that he is established in a lot of the things he does, and he's extremely smart. And it's hard, I think, for people to be smarter than him. And, I think that causes some issues. I think every quarterback's a diva, just like every wide receiver's a diva. What the degree is, coaches are really reluctant to talk about that. And but I think it's more about can they, get him to buy in all in on LaFleur's system, because I don't think they did that last year. I think they had a lot of parts that were McCarthy's system. I'll give you a couple examples. Is they run the clock down. Rodgers likes to run the clock down to 0 because he wants to know what the defense is doing. Yeah. He wants to make them make the first move. So pre-read, pre-snap, he has a read. That's not a real big staple of LaFleur's offense. He likes tempo, and he likes to get the ball out, snap the ball. He likes a lot of plays. So that's one thing. they want to run a higher percent. They ran the ball, I think, 62% of the time, something like that. They want to run it closer to 50. So, Rodgers had a lot of leeway in changing plays. I just think those are the kind of things that they're trying to implement, and they felt like they had to do it through a message in the draft.
Yeah, but it's a silly message to send if you got a guy who may not play for 3 years and you trade up to get a guy. Can't you send a message in a different way to Aaron Rodgers? Do I have to draft a quarterback who won't, unless he gets hurt, he's not going to play for a couple of years? It's just, I don't know. Maybe I don't understand the front office of the Packers there. So,
yeah, I think I'm not defending them. I'm trying to explain what their thinking was. Yeah. And I think their thinking was, Brian Gutekunst was around when Ted Thompson took Aaron Rodgers. And the end result of that was good. He had a quarterback who became an All-Pro and an MVP. And I think if you have the belief that Jordan Love is that kind of quarterback, then you have to, you are the keeper of the organization and as its head, because he's been through this. And I think they're saying, you only fall in love with a quarterback once, and picking at number 30, you don't get a chance to get a guy like that. And so that's what we're going to do. And I still think they can win with Rodgers.
Well, they overachieved last year, Tom. They weren't a 13-3 team. I think, third.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and
absolutely
I think because of that.
Everything went their way.
Yes, absolutely. All right, if you can ask Rodgers one question and get an honest answer, what would the question be?
I think the question would be, are you willing to go all in on LaFleur's offense and do whatever he says? Because, like I said, he wanted the change, and here you go. That's what happens when, be careful what you want. Sometimes you get a coach with a different offense and a different idea how to do things. So I would want to know if he's all in on it.
Tom, good to talk to you. We appreciate your time, and congrats on getting, whatever you feel like it's a scoop or just a strong inclination here of what's going on with this situation. More to follow, I'm sure, with Aaron Rodgers in the offseason.
Yeah.
It feels like every offseason there's something with Aaron Rodgers. But thank you, Tom, for spending some time.
You're very welcome, Dan.
That's Tom Silverstein. He covers the Packers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. It sounded like Tom was okay with this.
He didn't seem near as bothered by the draft strategy.
I'm more bothered by this for some reason.
You don't even live there.
I know. You bring in a coach, and maybe Aaron brought this on himself because you don't get along with Mike McCarthy. All right, make a coaching change. So you bring in a coach who likes to run the football. Does that make sense? If you have Aaron Rodgers, you just signed up that contract extension with a guy who, look, he wasn't. Let's not confuse him with some of the great offensive coordinators of all time. Matt spent time with the Rams and he spent time with the Titans. Okay, but you're coming in with Aaron Rodgers. I want to know, how do I make Aaron Rodgers greater? And I don't think this system makes Aaron Rodgers better. And I think you overachieved, and I think you come back to earth this year, and maybe you're a 10-win team. Take a break. Guy Fieri will join us coming up next on loan from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. We're back after this on the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, email, your Instagram, but I'm imploring you to check your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. So that's good for Fritzy. Discover is offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, and doing so for free even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Yes, free for everyone, Todd.
Free.
Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. Yes, Paul.
There was a big topic this week. There was a video online of a gentleman in the last row of an airplane, the last row where you cannot recline your seat. And the woman in front of him had reclined her seat the entire way to take a nap. And this gentleman was just basically repeatedly punching the back of this woman's seat in a not-so-silent protest over this. And it became a big discussion. So I have a question for the room. When you are on an airplane, do you always recline your seat, never recline your seat, or do you have an other policy for yourself?
I won't go all the way back.
Ever?
No.
Why?
I just know what that feeling's like when somebody does that to me. So there's part of me that I know what that feeling's like when you're sitting in coach and all of a sudden somebody goes, whoom, and then you're like, oh, God. And so I do probably a half.
What if someone does it fully to you?
I don't bang on the, I don't do that. What I hate was when somebody is on the airplane and they're the row behind you, but they grab your seat and then they like rip you back. Then I have a problem with that. But, for the most part, I try to be sensible when I'm in my seat. Yeah, Paul.
My recline policy is I look behind me, and if that person is either reading or watching a movie or have their food out, I don't recline at all because they're doing something with their seat. But if I look back and that person is completely unconscious and their seat's reclined, I will slowly recline mine back to match theirs and hit the sack.
Yes, Todd.
That's the worst thing. If you got like a drink out and you could potentially spill all over the person, you've got to. If you can't look behind you and see what they're doing, there's got to be a way to slowly move it back, and then they could always maybe tap your chair if they're concerned that all of a sudden their food's going to go flying or something.
Yes, Reid.
This to me is one of those bizarro social norms now that because a few people get unhappy if you weren't supposed to recline your seat, then they wouldn't recline.
Yeah.
But now for some reason, it's become socially unacceptable to recline your seat on a plane. It's like the dumbest thing that for some reason everybody's like, oh, no, you can't. You just can't. Of course you can.
But didn't American Airlines, I think, was involved in this with that woman and this guy? And didn't the woman get in trouble because of this for some reason?
Well, I'd like to know the backstory. Did the gentleman stand up and talk to the woman verbally instead of just pounding her seat with his fist? Because that would be the right thing to do. Hey, do you mind? I'm stuck back here and I can't recline. Can you bump it up a little bit?
Yeah.
But we don't know that.
Yeah.
Is anyone a non-recliner?
Yes, Todd.
I usually don't recline, but it's not because I'm so worried about the person behind me. If I was going to recline, I would gradually go back to not mess up whatever they have on their little tray, their little table. But I don't lay back that much. I'm
I
fine
think
sitting straight up.
you can go back gradually. It's when you got that guy who hits the button and it's like a violent move back. Yes,
I had that happen once on a plane where whoever was in front of me just slammed it back, and I had just gotten a Bloody Mary, and it was completely full, and it exploded all over myself and the person sitting next to me. And at first, I just sat there kind of stunned, and I was like, I was soaked with tomato juice, which is awesome for a nice long flight. And then I had to say to the guy next to me, I was like, hey, man, I'm really sorry, but I think he goes, I know, I saw, it's fine. I was like, oh dear. So he's not happy, but I really don't think it was my fault. But yeah.
Guy Fieri is a celebrity host of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and he's partnered with the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation to raise money for out-of-work restaurant workers. To date, they've raised $21 million. That's paid out in $500 grants. To donate, visit rerf.us. Guy joins us now. Guy, I only wanted to have you on for one reason, and that is, how do you pronounce your last name?
Fieri.
Fieri.
Yep. In Italian, E-R and I is Eddie. Fieri. So the way I explain it to everybody is there's a guy named Eddie, and he's got to pay a fee. There's a fee, Eddie.
Okay, because I had people in my audience who were saying that I was mispronouncing it. And my wife's Italian, so I said, no, it's Guy Fieri.
Yeah, no, you got it right.
Okay.
You got it right.
All right, good.
I like the intro music, by the way, the hangout music that you have going on in the background. Very, very calming, soothing.
What do you have behind you? Is that a man cave or your office? With what kind of stuff do you have there?
Well, it's my office, and that's it's collecting. It's all the stuff my wife won't let me have in the house. So my office is right off of the kitchen. And we built this new house, and she said, you have to finally move out of the kitchen with all your crap and go sit in your own room. So I look out to the patio, the kitchen's over to the right, and those are all my, from different projects. They said, we make bobbleheads and all that. You look at your collection.
Oh, I know.
I should send you this new bobblehead. It'd be perfect.
All right. What's the best piece of sports memorabilia you have in the house?
You want me to pick the computer up, take you over there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So this is it right here. I think this is it. Kenny Stabler.
Oh, that's great. Autograph Kenny Stabler.
So Kenny and I were really good buddies. We met because I'm up here in Raider country, and we became really good friends and spent several nights here at the house, the old house. And he was the first one. He came into my kitchen, my old house. We're going to tear this out of the wall, by the way. And he took this, he took and wrote a Super Bowl play on the wall in my kitchen. And then that subsequently led to everybody that was famous sports star or now musician, because Sammy Hagar came in and wrote lyrics on the wall. And that really made my wife happy. So everything is sequestered over here. But I got a signed Evel Knievel jump picture, Kentucky Derby, but all that. But I'm Raider Nation, so that the Kenny picture is one of the best.
Who are some of the other sports stars who have been at your place or you've cooked for them?
I got to think about it. There's been a lot of. I'm actually a big music fan as well. But let's see here. Marcel, I don't know if you know Marcel Reese. Marcel played for the Raiders and had quite a few Giants up. We're a little bit removed from things. We're about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the city, so we don't quite get all of the sports stars coming up this way. We usually have to travel down there. Although my son would like to tell you that that we should get curry up here every other weekend. Just want to cook together.
But when you go on the road, though, are you hanging? Who do you hang out with?
My film crew. I don't. It goes kind of fast and furious. We go from. I'll fly out of here. We live, like I said, Northern California. We'll fly out of here, get into, say, Philadelphia. I'll leave here at 4. I was just there with Michael Rubin at one of the last NBA games before this all went down. But we flew out of here, left at 4 a.m, got to Philly, I think, 11 o'clock in the afternoon, shot all day into the evening, stay the night, shoot all day again, and then fly home. So it's not like it was in the old days where I'd go into town and shoot a couple shows, stick around for a day, shoot a couple shows, stick around. Then I had a little bit more playtime. Now the schedule's not as permitting, so I don't get it. But I did have Michael and I did go to a great 76ers game and sat on the floor. And that's kind of like when everything was unfolding during this difficult time. And as a matter of fact, I was leaving from Philly that night on my way to Hawaii to go shoot more Triple D. And, well, of course, that didn't happen. So I've been home since.
What was the car that you almost picked to use on diners, drive-ins, and dives besides the Camaro? Was there a second choice?
So when we started the show, we did a pilot, and the pilot was like 7. We drove 7 different cars, and the producer just went to car clubs and said, "Hey, we're doing the show that's going to involve old cars and diners and this even before we really had designed what the show was like." So these car clubs would let me borrow their car. So I drove a couple of really nice Dodges. I even did drive a Ford. I'm not a Ford guy. I'm a Chevy guy. And when we got done doing the show, that we got picked up, he says, "Okay, so what car do you think we should drive in the show?" And I said, "That 67 Camaro we drove, that's, and that car." He went and got that car. So we used that car for a couple of years. And then I finally went and built the 68 that we use now. But no, it had to be Chevy. There was no, and it had to be convertible so we could shoot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the camera's in the car with me, and we need the light and we need the height for the camera. I'm giving you all my inside info.
Is that your car?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much?
It's a 68 RS SS, so a Rally Sport Super Sport. It's got a 502 big block. Tremec 5-speed. It was a rotisserie car, so it's fully gone through.
My brother had a 69 Rally Sport in the same color as yours. So whenever I see yours, I always think of my brother's red convertible Rally Sport, and that was a great car. That was beautiful.
I mean, your brother, does he still have it?
No, he sold it.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, if you know how many people have walked up to me going, when I was in high school, I had the. Do you still have it?
No, but
I mean, everybody. No.
You end up getting the car that you couldn't get in high school. It feels like, right?
You could have bought the car. I mean, to get the Super Sport package on a Camaro was like, because I have a couple of Chevelles also that are Super Sports, and the pack. It was the engine package was a bigger deal, but yeah, no, I see so many people that come up, and you can really see it, especially some of the old timers will look at it and they'll kind of give me this. I had one of these, and one time I went, and the story always kind of unfolds. So
he's Guy Fieri, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Explain what you're doing with the restaurant workers here.
Well, listen, I've been in the restaurant business my whole life. This is all I've ever done, is do restaurants, and the TV thing kind of came after that, which I really appreciate the opportunity. But I'm a chef, I'm a cook, I've owned restaurants, I'm all sides of it. So when this happened, when we got this hit, I knew with the tens of thousands of restaurants that were being closed, we were going to have ourselves into a situation where we were going to just have so many people without jobs. And I'm thinking, like, what can I do to help? Like, I mean, go buy gift certificates, which is a great way to do it. But I'm thinking like on a national level. So I called the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation because they're the ones that take money in and then help get money out. They know how to handle the deals. Said, what if I start sending out these videos to these presidents of companies that interact with the restaurant business? Long story short, started sending out videos to you name it, to Pepsi, to Uber Eats, to Coke, to anybody that had some direct connection, and people started sending money. And I think just as last night, we were up to about 21.5 million.
That's
so
awesome.
21.5 million, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the employees. There's no administration fee or any of that kind of stuff. And the beauty of it is we're giving out $500 grants. And the website, if people want to check it out, to make a donation or to try to sign up for one of the grants, is RERF.us. That's Restaurant Employee Relief Fund.us. But listen, it's a terrible situation, and we're trying to make some impact and just show the people that have been serving us for all these years that the community is there and trying to help serve them.
No, it's great stuff. More serious question. Who does your hair?
Well, you act like you don't know because it's the same stylist you have. So I don't even know why we're joking about
Does your wife do it, or do you do it, or somebody else?
Well, I don't know that guys are supposed to ask each other that, but I know stylists you have, and I don't know why we're going through this.
Guy, I built a career off great hair, so this comes from a good place, okay?
And that's why I followed. That's why I followed your lead. I will tell you though, during this pandemic, we've been shooting. And matter of fact, we're getting ready to do it this afternoon. I'm here at my house in the wine country, and we're shooting diners, drive-ins, and dives in our kitchen or in our patio kitchen. And my sons are running the cameras. My youngest son is setting up the GoPros. My oldest son is my co-host and kind of my producer, and my wife's doing the makeup. And I said, I thought it was a common thing, like, well, honey, you just touch me up a little bit because I don't look that great, And I said, I got raccoon eyes. And she's like, and looks at me crazy. And I'm like, you do your makeup. She goes, that's not doing your makeup, though. You got a little bit of a learning curve around here.
Yeah.
But no, a buddy of mine does. My buddy of mine owns a big salon, and so he does it. So.
Yeah. What's the most overrated food?
Fast food. Fast food's overrated. I think, you know what it is? And I mean, this is really the truth. I think there's some good fast food, don't get me wrong. And I think at 4 a.m, when you shouldn't be eating, there's some, it fills its spot. But I think like eating a burger, if you're going to eat a burger, eat a really righteous burger. I mean, like eat a great burger. Eat a burger they didn't freeze the meat. Eat a burger that they fresh bake the buns. Eat a burger that they give it some respect and some integrity. But I think that this stuff of just, coat anything in batter and fry it, don't get me wrong, it has its place. But I think that if you're going to take on the calories and you're going to take on the carbs and you're going to go, maybe give yourself, if you're going to go eat a slice of pizza, eat some really good pizza.
We got a lot of great pizza in New Haven. Not very far from here. Like
pizza capital. You don't think all my agents from WME, from William Morrison Denver, that all live up in that area on a regular basis are explaining to me how easy it is to get on the train coming up to New Haven. But no, I had cousins that lived in the area, and I remember being a kid from California, where we had ours was just kind of back in the 70s was kind of just hippie pizza, where I lived at least. When I went there and they had pizzas this big and the slices were, you were eating paper plates. I'm like, I say to my cousins, I'm like, every day let's have pizza. It was that good, really thin. We didn't get a lot of that.
What kind of workout regimen do you, because I watch, usually Friday, it's like all day, all night, diners, drive-ins, and dives. And I'm going, you got to have a good workout regimen.
I actually, it's something that I really enjoy. It's actually something I really enjoy the most. I love to hike. I'm a big outdoors guy. So to me, going for a hike, we have a big park behind our house. And then we have a ranch, 500-acre ranch. So I spend a lot of time hiking and mountain biking. And then when it rains, I have my buddy of mine got me a Peloton treadmill, which don't ever say, I'll tell you something. I'm embarrassed I even say it, but I got to be honest. It does push me. I don't necessarily listen to all the classes and the people talking to me, but it does when the schedule changes, it does make you push it a little bit farther. I haven't run this much in my life. I'm usually like an incline hiker guy, but I just try to watch what I eat. I don't.
But how much will you gain if you go out for a 2-day trip? Like how much? I watch when you take the extra bite because, of course, you want to be nice to the person that you're in their kitchen. You never go, one bite, I'm done. You always go, you double down, though. I give you credit, guy. You double down. You go, bite. Oh, man, that's good. You go one more time to give them the ultimate compliment.
So I watch the show, but I don't have to watch all of your show because I have a buddy of mine named Millie. And Daniel, matter of fact, he texted me yesterday and said, "You're going to be on the show tomorrow, aren't you?" I go, "How do you know this?" He says, "Oh, because I took the teas. There's some analytics." So this buddy of mine, Millie, might watch your show more than you watch Triple D. But you're right. You got the insight there. I'll give you the creds on that.
Okay.
There's a difference between liking something and loving something. Okay. And you'll never see it on the show if I don't like it. So if I don't like it, sometimes things get set down. We turn the camera off and we just say, okay, let's revisit this. Let's figure out how we're going to do this. Because this isn't good. I'm not sending a bunch of people here to have this, whatever we just had. And that really is the truth. I don't have any, as a chef, last thing I want you to do is walking up to me going, "Dude, I went all the way there and it sucked." Which I've had people say. And I say this to them. I'm sorry, I'm all over the board, but I had a lady come, I'm doing a demo. I'm in DC. I'm doing a demo, 2,500 people. I'm up there and I'm cooking and I'm talking, and we put the open mic for people to ask questions while I'm cooking. And this lady says, "Hey, I went to this place in Long Beach that you went to, and it was horrible." I said, "Horrible?" I said, "What did you have?" She said, "I had the pancakes with the blueberry sauce and the da-da-da-da-da-da." And I go, "Ma'am, I didn't have pancakes with blueberry sauce. I think I had a guacamole burger." She goes, "Oh yeah, I had the guacamole burger too. It was delicious, but the pancake sucked." I go, "Lady, I'm not guaranteeing everything that I try is fantastic." So anyhow, back to the thing. No, I don't gain any weight.
Do you have a bucket? I heard that you might have a bucket underneath you that you don't.
Oh God, no.
You eat you okay.
If I take the bite, I finish the bite.
Okay.
I don't play the games. And I do know because I did some commercials. I did some TV, some commercials for some restaurants back in the day, and we would be there, and they're like, "Here's the spit bucket." And I'm like, it just doesn't feel right, I couldn't do it. So anyhow, no, I've never been. I'm not going to say the words I was just going to say, but no, I don't spit the food out. So it's what you see is what you get.
He's the mayor of Flavortown. How many people live in Flavortown, by the way?
You know what? I meet citizens on a regular basis. and they send me wedding invitations and graduation invitations, and their kids in Eagle Scout. You get all the same stuff. You have the residents. I see all these. I see all the constituents that you have there on our call. Good dudes, by the way, which I always love the banter. The banter is my favorite part. As soon as I see somebody else come on the screen, I'm like, all right, here it comes. Smack time. Let's go. Someone's going to fire back at the boss.
But you don't get that on diners, drive-ins, and dives. You can't really have, like, you'll have a special guest sometimes, but you need to have somebody who really jabs you a little bit, I think.
Oh, I have it all the time. I just edit them out. I don't need it. I have my kid. I have my son, Hunter. Hunter's 23, just graduated from UNLV. 1990, running reps. Thank you. That's where I went to school also. But Hunter just graduated, so I have him on the show with me quite a bit. And he's a top-notch smartass. He gets his little jabs in here and there. And then the youngest one, Ryder, who's 14, he's also starting to take on the profession of being, of running his mouth, which are both funny. Listen, I think that's what keeps us going and keeps us moving and keeps us sharp on our game. Plus, I have a whole crew. I've got 20 people that shoot Triple D. We have 2 teams that are going, all the time. And they're, you don't say a wrong line or drop something on the floor or have, some mustard running down your cheek without them going, giving it to you.
Hey, it's great to talk to you and continue to entertain us. And you're doing a great thing. It's RERF.US, raising $21 million that will be paid out in grants, the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. He's Guy Fieri. And thank you, Guy. We appreciate your time.
Love the show. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
All right, we'll take a break. See, we figured out how to pronounce Guy Fieri. I would have loved if Guy said Guy. Oh, you want to know how to pronounce my name? It's Guy. All right, we'll take a break. Back after this on The Dan Patrick Show. Did you ever audition for Saturday Night Live?
I did.
Because you grew up in Westchester.
I grew up in the suburbs of the city. It was in Rye, New York, tough streets in Rye, New York.
Wow, how did you get out of Rye?
I, by hook or crook, I got out of there. I used to go watch the Rangers practice. The Rangers always practice in Rye, and the Knicks practice in SUNY Purchase. But it was always kind of my dream to be on SNL. I finally got to audition, and right before I went out there, one of the stagehands guys looked at me and goes, are you going to play John Lovitz? And I said, I'm going to play Lyle. I'm going to play the love child of Lyle Lovitz and Lyle Lovett and John Lovitz. And then he goes, save it for the stage. And I was like, okay, thanks, man. I guess I'll go up on. And then I went up on stage and performed. It went okay.
Is the room silent?
It's pretty quiet. And I get out there and Lorne Michaels was sort of like, they're in the bathroom. And I was like, what? They're outside. And I go, what? He goes, they're outside. I go, are they out there talking about how great I am? And he was like, no. And I was like, all right, man. Yeah. But it all worked out as it was supposed to. I think I ended up on the league the next year, and I auditioned the same year as John Mulaney and Jordan Peele. John got hired as a writer there. Jordan has gone on to do nothing. He's done very little. Jordan and I so we both created our sketch shows similar times. And there's a sketch actually that's online of Jordan and I both playing refs, basketball refs. I did this character, Ref Jeff, who was kind of a ref who just wanted to hang out with the players. And Jordan had his version of it. And it all worked out.
And you're here today.
And here I am at the Dan Patrick Show.
I think we need to hear from Duke's Delights because I forget who sent us this. Maybe Sophie in California. Maybe Sophie sent that to us because when we all had our dogs in here and we had them running around, and I got these treats, and of course somebody knows whenever they hear the sound And I wonder if Penny would like Cookie. Yes, she knows how to spell. Well, come out here. Come out here. First of all, let's say hello. I saw you this morning. Can you sit? Can you give me? Oh, yeah. I'll take both of them. We should dance. Okay. Now we're going to do this again. People say I'm being mean to you. So, no, sit. So I got this, and then watch what I do. I'm going to go here. You did it! Yay! No, she didn't get it. Yes, but that's where the cookie was originally. And so she went there. And then I switched it up. Yeah. She wanted to take a trip to Flavortown. These are Duke's Delights, peanut butter. That's it. That's all I got. Time to go to bed. Time to go lie down. Good girl. Good girl. Yes. Yes. Go lie down. All right. We actually did some homework on you. We don't do homework on all of our guests, but we did homework on you.
Beyond the actual just Wikipedia page, yeah. We did some homework.
Yeah.
Okay. Because my whole life is boiled down to about 3 stories that are on Wikipedia.
Okay.
And that's about it. It's like nothing else has ever happened.
Give me the 3 stories, though. Just tell me the top.
I did a commercial with Michael Jordan for McDonald's. Barbara Streisand called me at school or cast me in a movie. At one point, it said I went to law school, which I wanted them to keep up. But unfortunately, they took that down. And what's the other story? I can't remember the other story.
Okay, but Jordan, you were in a McDonald's commercial with him.
I was.
You served Jordan.
I was in the McDonald's polyester outfit, and I served him his breakfast, yeah.
What do you remember about that?
It was a crazy day because it rained 10 inches that day. And so Jordan was 6 hours late for the shoot. So I was hanging out in a McDonald's, for 6 hours waiting for Michael to arrive, and he came, and it was awesome, and yeah.
Have you met him since then to tell him?
I did. When all the Batman films were coming out, Leno came to Chicago. He was doing a show in Chicago, and suddenly people knew who I was because I'd been in a couple Batman films. So they thought it was funny. I brought him his food to the set.
That was fun. Yeah, I'm a Triple D fan. I can't cook, but I admire those who can and what they do, different chances they take. I was also wondering about this earlier in the show, and I just got around to bringing it up. What if the Chiefs had hired Eric Bieniemy instead of Matt LaFleur? You're bringing in the Chiefs' style of offense instead of the Sean McVay and Brian Shanahan system. That would have been more to Aaron Rodgers' liking than what they have now. And I'm curious to see how the next 2 years are going to play in Green Bay because I just can't imagine. I can't imagine this lasting. That Aaron's going to go, hey, this is the kind of quarterback that I'm going to be. Drew Brees has had to accept that he's not the Drew Brees of a couple of years ago. They're just not. But Aaron is still able to be Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't throw interceptions, right? Doesn't throw them. And he still had he had a bad year, threw for 4,000 yards and threw 26 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That's a bad year for him. That's amazing. All right, a couple of phone calls in here. Greg in Illinois. Hey, Greg, what do you have for me?
Hey, DP, Packer fan in Bear Country. I get the criticism of the Packers draft, both sides of it, but I have a question for you, kind of a long-term thing here. When Rodgers does retire, do you think he will be given the benefit of the doubt from the same critics, the people who are criticizing the organization, if he only ends up with 1 championship?
Probably not. Probably not. And nobody said it's fair, and thanks for the phone call, because we look at championships. The Packers are going to have – they have 28 years right now invested. 28 years invested in 2 quarterbacks, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, 2 of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time, and they have 2 Super Bowls. 2 Super Bowl wins to show for it. That's not acceptable. This program brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. The all-new GT 4-door coupe. Because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any of our interviews this week or any week from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the DP Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG driving performance. Buck in Wisconsin joins us. Hi, Buck. How are you today?
Doing good, Dan. Thanks for having me. 6'3", 215. Yeah, I definitely understand the criticism of the Packers draft, and I don't understand why they drafted Jordan Love or necessarily agree with it, but I do think the narrative with LaFleur and Rodgers feuding is becoming exhausting and a little bit forced, personally. I think that, judging on the success last year of going 13-3, and I know they had somewhat of an easy schedule, but they ran the ball more than they had in a couple of years past. Aaron Jones was the best player on the team. So I just think that narrative is just a little bit forced nowadays.
It might be.
It might be.
Yeah. Thank you, Buck.
Wow.
But here's the thing. It's Aaron Rodgers. And you're going to get the stories that are covered by the national media in this business have to do with what are the stories that will trend. That's what it comes down to. Something happens with Aaron Rodgers, you're going to bring it up. LeBron James, you're going to bring it up. There's like 5 or 6 stories where, teams or coaches or players where you go, oh, the Cowboys, always. Anything with the Cowboys, check the box. That's going to be mentioned. That's the formula. Well, right or wrong, but that's the formula. That's why more attention on Aaron Rodgers, because it's Aaron Rodgers. If LeBron James said he was on the verge of crying watching Michael Jordan win his first title. And then that started social media where people are saying, oh, look at LeBron trying to, put himself into the Jordan documentary, where I didn't read it that way, but it's LeBron. Hey, the Cowboys had a great draft, but it won't be a great season unless Dak Prescott signs the long-term deal. Okay. So that's how the formula works here. I saw where Eric Edmonds in California won the scoreboard challenge, Fritzy's scoreboard challenge, has to do with 20 strikeouts. You got 32 and 20.
32 and 20.
All right, so 20 is Roger Clemens striking out 20 Seattle Mariners on this day.
In 1986, correct.
32.
And the clue is get the whiff of them. So maybe the other one has to do with something baseball pitcher related.
Well, I was going to go Sandy Koufax, but I don't know what he did on this day.
I'll tell you, on 1981, it involves a Philadelphia Philly.
Oh, Steve Carlton.
First lefty to strike out 3,000 batters. So jersey number 32, 32 and 20. That's where you get your scoreboard from. Carlton's jersey and Clemens' 20 strikeouts.
Paulie, this day in sports history.
1981, Dan, Steve Carlton of the Phillies became the first left-handed pitcher in the major leagues to get 3,000 career strikeouts. 1986, Roger Clemens of the Red Sox had 20 strikeouts versus the Mariners.
What a coincidence.
Nailed it.
Fantastic.
What a coincidence. What did you learn on today's program, Todd?
Guy Fieri has Ken Stable and Evel Knievel signed photos in his office. That's pretty cool.
McLovin, what did you learn today?
Charles Barkley doubled down. We're going to do a show there and stay in the guest house.
Yeah, I got to get out there. I think it'd be great to do a show or 2 shows from Charles' compound. Seton O'Connor Jr. III, what did you learn?
Guy Fieri has one of those leg lamps from A Christmas Story up in his house. Did you guys notice that?
I did.
Right over his shoulder.
Yeah, I didn't notice it.
The full sizer.
Yeah, Paulie, what did you learn?
Fragile, the lamp in the window.
What we learned brought to you by 1-800-Flowers. Right now, get 24 multicolored roses, $39.99. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Click on the radio icon. That's me. And enter the promo code Patrick. Enter the code Patrick. It's Mother's Day. 1-800-Flowers right now. Tell them we sent you. Talk to you tomorrow.